Make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month. Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Kenny Zhu, president of Color Us United.
Race became a profitable industry. That's what happened. Racial victimhood. We all believe in civil rights, but then there are people who actually profit off of racial victimhood in this country. Diversity, equity, and inclusion right now, the new hot thing in companies, is a $10 billion plus industry.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on NewstalkSTL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
And their leadership has been substandard.
I think the word substandard is immensely polite.
This is NewstalkSTL.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, many timeshare owners are very upset because their yearly dues have nearly doubled. Well, Lone Star will guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. With their A-plus rating at the Better Business Bureau, clients know that Lone Star Transfer is a company you can trust. For a free consultation, please go to LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066. On this Monday, as I have been reporting, it is going to be a very strange year in 2023. That is because the Democrats are trying to destroy Donald Trump once and for all, and the Republicans are trying to destroy Joe Biden once and for all. Those parallel investigations, one by a special counsel, the Democrats, and one by House committees, the Republicans, will wreak havoc on our political process. There will be leaks every day about what Trump did on January 6th, about what Biden did with his son, Hunter. It will be very hard to ascertain the truth because all the leaks will be anonymous, and the corrupt national press will put them out there with no scrutiny. We will not do that. We are giving both Trump and Biden the presumption of innocence, which is the core of our justice system. But as we all know, that's disappeared in our culture now. A headline makes you guilty. An allegation ruins careers. Not here. But believe me, I am on this. I am going to watch what the special counsel does and what the Republican House committee does. And I will report to you honestly. Now this. No question, there is a concerted effort to intimidate and silence conservative thinkers and replace our God-given individual liberty with big government controls. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization in America. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits and all kinds of great content. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the NewstalkSTL Weather Center.
Cool
cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
News, analysis, opinion. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Welcome back. Yeah, we got to get back to real life these days, but I hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I know that me and my family, we did. Hey, thanks for joining us here on News Talk STL. A little bit later on today, follow up to the Biden administration's continued push to try to discharge a bunch of that student loan debt. You know, the reality is I think a lot of people agree on the actual policy. It's terrible policy, terrible economics, but man, that money being dangled in front of people, that reduction in debt, it's tempting for a lot of people, including conservatives. We're going to chat about that a little bit later on today. You know, before the holiday break, we had an interesting conversation with Tom Pyle from the American Energy Alliance regarding when the Republicans come into power, at least in the House of Representatives. Obviously, they're still outnumbered in the Senate, and they don't have the White House, of course. But when it comes to our economy, you cannot take energy away from that. So what priorities, realistic priorities, should Republicans have, and what does it mean to us? Here's what Tom had to say. A lot of good information here. Hey, politicians, take note. Tom Pyle is with the American Energy Alliance, and he joins us right now. And I know you all have a lot of ideas, more than we've got time for in this discussion right here. But when you look at, before we get into what should be done to address, you know, the shortages and the inflationary pressures and all that sort of thing regarding energy, Tom, what are the chances that there could even be a discussion or compromise or agreement that moves things in the right direction at this point?
Well, first, happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody. I wish it wasn't the most expensive Thanksgiving dinner we've had in a while, but a lot of these policies on energy have to do with that. Look, the Republicans have to be bold and they have to be aggressive in the House. I know they have a narrow margin, but if they put forward a case for the American people as to how to get out of this problem, then hopefully the Democrats the Democrats out there will tell their party, hey, get on board, right? I mean, none of us want to see this never-ending situation where we're struggling to pay the bills every month. And energy is a huge component of that, and we have it here, and the administration knows that. They've unfortunately been sort of captured by this really fringe sort of no oil, no coal, no natural gas element of the Green Party.
Tom, with the narrow margin that the Republicans have in the House now, and I think they're up to 220, and we may see them wind up at maybe 222. So it is a very narrow margin. And with them not having the Senate, realistically, what steps can they take to try and get the Biden administration on board with better, sounder energy policies?
Well, first, they have and will be able to put a stop on the excesses, right? I mean, no more Inflation Reduction Acts, quote unquote, no more of this prolific spending that has led to this inflation crisis that we're in. One. Two, they can use and leverage the budget process and the oversight and investigation process to put a check on some of the excesses. The Senate is going to have to negotiate with the House on certain things. And it is my hope, and I hope that that they hold their ground on these energy issues because it's so important for the long-term benefit of both our economy and, quite frankly, the environment, because we drill for oil and gas better and cleaner than anywhere else in the world.
Good morning, Tom. This is Ken Williams. The Biden administration, they talk about how they have all these permits available to the oil companies, and it's the oil companies' fault that they're not, drilling for more energy. How disingenuous is that?
It's the same old talking point that they drum up every time they're in a bind politically on these issues. Look, the utilization rate for these permits is as high as it's been. A lot of these permits take a long time to get approved, right? So I turn the question back to the administration. How many permits are sitting on your desk waiting for approval, President Biden? And I'm willing to bet that it is a very, very high number. So it's kind of a red herring, to be honest.
We're visiting with Tom Pyle from the American Energy Alliance. I'm going to follow up on something you just said a second ago, Tom, and that has to do with, what the Republicans can do to leverage negotiations with the Biden administration. It sounds to me, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but it sounds to me like you're saying the best that we can really hope for is for Republicans to just stop more bad policies, because every one of these bad policies results in something being harder to find and more expensive for families around the country. Is there any hope that we can move these policies into a better direction to actually lower some of these costs and accessibilities for the country, or do we just have to try to stop more bad stuff for the next couple of years?
Well, I wouldn't underestimate the importance of stopping bad stuff, because it does compound, right? You have this sort of compounding effect. And what they can do, again, is leverage their role in the budget to shave programs, to pull back some of this spending. The Senate is going to have to negotiate with the House. The White House is going to have to negotiate with the House. The question really becomes, what do the House Republicans prioritize? And if they prioritize energy, I think they can get a little bit more done than simply, holding the line on the excesses.
If they prioritize energy, I know one of the storylines that's kind of come out of the elections is that there's still kind of a divergence within the Republican House. The tension between the Freedom Caucus and the more establishment wing of the Republican Party. Do you see those differences getting in the way of coming up with effective energy strategies?
I don't think on energy the party is really that far apart. I think the whole of the Republican Party agrees that it is important for our security, our national security, our energy security, to be producing more at home. I think the tension is going to come early in the process, where they start sniping at each other and, quite frankly, trying to extract concessions from Kevin McCarthy in order to get the votes to be speaker. But I think once all of those things are settled, I do think that the party is probably not more unified, with the possible exception of maybe immigration. I think they're as unified as can be on energy.
Hey, Tom, how important is Joe Manchin right now to everything related to energy?
Well, he is he's the wall in the Senate, right? But he has shown that he cracks every now and then, right? This Inflation Reduction Act was a big gift for the Greens, and it hurts his state, quite frankly. Interestingly enough, people look at the runoff in Georgia as maybe, well, does it matter? But it really does, because if Walker wins, then they're still in a 50-50 situation, which means they have to share the committees. They'd be evenly divided. But if Walker loses, then the Dems will have a majority advantage in all the committees, and they'll be able to work around Manchin, quite frankly, on a few things. So all eyes are on Georgia. This is still an important race.
All right. If you go to AmericanEnergyAlliance.org, you can find Tom's recent article, Ways the Biden administration and Congress have made it harder to produce oil and gas. Tom, really appreciate you being on the air with us and giving us that update.
You bet. Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Tom.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Well, we've got your morning news roundup coming your way in just about 4 minutes right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
We can't broadcast that show.
Bongino.
When Donald Trump said he was spied on, the Hunter Biden laptop was real. Two things that are absolutely, positively confirmed as factually accurate. Leslie Stahl was like, sir!
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
The Range St. Louis West is all about safety. That's why training is a critical part of what we do. No one wants to be in a situation where seconds count, but help is minutes away. But if that day comes, are you ready? No matter what your firearm experience level is, we have courses and instructors that can help. The Range St. Louis West is the area's premier training facility, shooting range, and all things firearms retail facility. Check us out online at therangestl.com or stop by and visit with our professional staff. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
Hi, I'm Richard Petty. I may be champion on the racetrack, but what I'm most proud of is being a champion of veterans like Chris Hull. Chris was injured while serving in the Army.
Because of the Paralyzed Veterans of America, I was able to get the health care and benefits I need. And now I live an active life. I currently play wheelchair rugby for the only all-veteran team in the country and mentor other veterans with disabilities when I can.
More than 44,000 veterans live with spinal cord injuries and disease. Paralyzed Veterans of America help these veterans secure health care, benefits, and jobs.
The programs and services at the Paralyzed Veterans of America, like adaptive sports, have changed my life. After my injury, I never thought I'd play sports, travel the world, or have so many people supporting me. Paralyzed Veterans of America has given me a support system for life.
To learn how you can join me and be a champion for veterans like Chris, visit pva.org/champions.
Right now, the forgotten poor are waiting and praying for life-saving medical care, for a chance to live with dignity and hope. They are waiting for Mercy Ships and you. Mercy Ships is the largest floating civilian hospital in the world, with volunteer medical staff and crew who donate their time to save lives. As our newest state-of-the-art hospital ship sets sail, Mercy Ships will double our ability to reach children and adults who need us now.
Some people are called to preach and teach. I share the love of Jesus by caring for these patients.
Mercy Ships is answering the call to be the hands and feet of Jesus for the least of these. Together, with friends like you, we are putting faith into action and bringing a wave of hope and healing to those who need it most.
Thank you!
To learn more about this wave of hope, go to mercyships.org today.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Columbo and Katie. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch.
News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, things happening all over the world. Pretty remarkable. We're going to talk about what's going on in China right now. This is huge.
It is huge.
I don't think we fully appreciate it here at all.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about when it comes time to analyze actually the people of China.
Yeah, this is an enormous risk to say, hey, I don't like that, much less do what they're doing, and then compare that to how we tend to cower in fear over illegal authoritarian government here.
Yeah.
On a much lower level as well. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. Also, we now know who the next Missouri Attorney General is going to be. I'm just going to say Susie Moore's prediction was correct and mine was wrong. That we talked about on Wednesday, I guess it was. Will he be as aggressively pro-freedom as the current AG, Eric Schmidt? We'll get into that about 6:05 or so. Joe Biden says it out loud again. This time, how does he say it? He finds basically the tenets of the Second Amendment sick.
Yeah, it's sick.
And if you think that I'm using hyperbole, I've got the soundbite, and I'll play it for you.
You have the receipts, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And speaking of the Biden administration, they have granted approval for an oil company to start drilling again.
What?
Yeah. Imagine that.
Well,
I mean, drilling in Venezuela, but not here,
Oh.
but for Venezuela. They
Yeah,
get
that
to
was
do it.
kind of weird.
Yeah. So that's where that's at. All right, it's 5:51 here. I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Ken Williams. Missouri lawmakers, both those already in office and those who will be sworn in come January, those who were elected in November, obviously, get to work this week. They get to work for 2023. Pre-filing of bills starts on the 1st. Yeah, December starts this week. What the heck? So we're going to talk to Newstalk STL's Tim Jones about that around 6:05. A lot going on. And I want to talk to him about what do we know about our new or incoming Attorney General who will be appointed as soon as Eric Schmidt becomes U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt. All right. So recent shootings dominating the headlines once again have the Democrats on offense when it comes to gun control and how they can crack down as much as they possibly can on gun sales and gun ownership. We've got more from Fox News' Gernal Scott.
Tragedies in Virginia, Colorado, and other states have once again raised questions on who can get access to guns. Colorado Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat, says federal lawmakers must act.
We have universal background checks in Colorado. Some of our neighboring states don't even have background checks.
Republican Congressman James Comer, who may be the next House Oversight Committee chairman, says just passing more laws won't fix the issue.
We need to invest in more law enforcement. And again, we need to invest in mental health.
Both were on NBC's Meet the Press. Congressman Comer says he hopes gun crime can be addressed while protecting Second Amendment rights. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
And just a heads up, at 7:05, we've got our friends from the American Firearms Association going to be on with us to get the reaction, not just from President Biden, but also Senator Chris Murphy, the very, very left-wing U.S. Senator, who actually says, and again, I've got the audio from the Talking Head shows, maybe we shouldn't be funding law enforcement if they continue to respect the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's exactly what they said.
You've got basically a lame duck session, which normally in normal situation in politics is kind of just a wrap up, clean up at, some various administrative stuff. This could be one of the most dangerous lame duck sessions in Congress in recent years. The left knows that if they want to cram this stuff down our throat, they've got to do it right now because at least for the first little bit, the Republicans are going to be united. I wouldn't count on them being united for long term, but at least for a little bit, they're going to be united so that if the left really wants to get it done, they've got to get it done in about the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think they're going to do everything they can possible to lie, cheat, and steal to get it across the border. And we know that that's what they do.
They are remarkably united right now because they know this is their narrow window of opportunity. So they'll shove through as much as they can. And if it gets thrown out by the Supreme Court, well, whatever, that'll take 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They can do damage in the meantime. Yeah, so we'll get into that as well. Last minute push to spare the life of a cop killer gets a hearing this afternoon. Kevin Johnson's lawyers are asking the Missouri Supreme Court to at least delay his execution that is scheduled for tomorrow. And among their claims, remember, they say racism is part of the reason he was sentenced to death. By the way, Kevin Johnson ambushed and killed Kirkwood police officer William McEntee in 2005 in a particularly brutal fashion. So among the other things, when you look at this push by the ACLU and the Missourians against the death penalty, and I think there should be a robust debate over the death penalty, and I don't think we should be using it as much as we probably do. But these are the cases it's made for, and guess what? He found religion earlier this month.
Yeah, I guess I would find more religion if I was incarcerated as much as he's going to be. But you know what, Mike? all these different people are protesting and having rallies or whatever, vigils or whatever you want to call them for this guy.
Right.
But, what about Kevin McAtee's family?
Yeah.
What about them?
They've been asked for comment, and they have wisely said very emotional time for them as well. They would like to not have to be drug into the public discussion over what he's doing, and I think that's the right thing to do.
But no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is they will never be able to see him again.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and it was at the hands of this guy. And I don't even want to say his name.
Yeah, he was particularly brutal in how he did this, premeditated and brutal.
So he deserves it. He deserves to go and go away.
And there's no question that he did it. I mean, it's not like they're saying we got the wrong guy. They're not arguing he didn't do it. They're just saying he shouldn't be executed for what he did. And they're trying to use his 19-year-old daughter as a sympathy card as well. By the way, that is something we're going to talk about a little bit later, too. Missouri law bans anybody who is not 21 years old from witnessing an execution.
Yeah.
And she's 19, and she's sued to try to at least be there. And the court ruled against her. And so that's among the secondary debates that's happening is over that law as well.
Why would you want to see her dad executed?
She says she wants to be there up until the last moments of his life. It's a sympathy card to try to do leverage for the death penalty argument is what it is. That's really is. All right, I mentioned this just a minute ago. Chevron recently received U.S. approval to resume oil operations in Venezuela. I don't know why we have authority over something like that. After the Treasury Department issued Chevron a license to resume extraction operations in that country, comes after the Venezuelan government resumed talks with what they call the Unitary Platform. Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania gives his reaction to that entire situation.
I don't know why we're going to communist dictatorships. We're begging OPEC Plus to increase production when we have the energy right here in America to get the job done.
And basically the Biden administration is saying, well, this is positive reinforcement, for them coming to the table on some of their authoritarian stuff.
Hey,
in
by
Venezuela.
the way, what is OPEC Plus? Is that added countries?
Yes, that's right.
It's like added features of a app.
The premium subscription. I'm telling you, that's the OPEC premium subscription. You got to bust out another $4.99 a month for that. Is where that comes from.
A gallon.
Hey, little PSA right here for everybody. Gallon, really. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, today is the day to toss out your turkey. Whatever you have not eaten after Thanksgiving, today's the day you're supposed to get rid of it. How many people actually do that?
No.
Yeah. Because apparently after like 3 or 4 days is when like the bad stuff starts like getting to the point of being a little bit dangerous, could make you sick. Not kill you, but make you sick.
I'm kind of a freak about that stuff, and even I wait a little bit longer. But you know what? You can add it to soups and everything, and it lasts a little longer.
Well, yeah, that could be. Yesterday, my mom and I just decided we're done with turkey. We went to Longhorn for lunch.
Oh, yeah?
We're like, forget it. We're just getting some beef. We're getting some red meat, and I don't even eat that much red meat out there. All right, just ahead here, 6:05, our good friend and talk show host extraordinaire and former Speaker of the House, Tim Jones, going to be with us. We're going to get his take on the new Attorney General, and he's been around a few of these pre-filing sessions. Believe it or not, those state representatives and state senators you voted for, they're going to start filing stuff this week. So we get a little bit of a preview of that just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
If you're concerned about the current market and the 40-year record high inflation that we're seeing, you're not alone.
Credit card usage skyrocketing and at record highs, savings rates plunging.
It's 100% certainty that you're in recession now.
The good news is, for decades, Steve All and his team have been helping people just like you protect and grow your income. And most importantly, not run out of money.
My clients that are currently sitting there on guaranteed incomes, they're not really worried about what's happening in the market. So they're more at peace because every month that paycheck comes in.
Call Steve today for your customized market protection plan. 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or visit yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities. Licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at
NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com.
I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Authorities in China are easing some COVID rules after angry protests over the weekend.
Chinese authorities eased antivirus rules in some areas, but are reaffirming their zero COVID strategy after crowds in multiple cities held demonstrations demanding the resignation of China's president Xi Jinping. A deadly apartment fire last week raised questions about overzealous virus controls, and the city of Beijing announced it would no longer set up gates to block access to apartment compounds where infections are found. Police used pepper spray against protesters in Shanghai and struggled to suppress demonstrations in other cities. The protests are the most widespread display of opposition to the ruling Communist Party in decades. Some protesters called for the party to step down and held up blank pieces of paper to signify resistance against state censorship. I'm Jennifer King.
A pilot and passenger are alive after their small plane hit a utility tower and got stuck in the power lines. It happened last night in Gaithersburg, Maryland, outside the nation's capital. Here's Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Chief Scott Goldstein on WJLA.
Both patients have been transported from the scene to local area trauma centers with serious injuries.
The two were rescued after several hours of dangling 100 feet in the air in the aircraft. Power was knocked out to about 90,000 homes and businesses in Washington, D.C.'s Maryland suburbs, but has since been restored. A major drug bust being reported in Europe. Law enforcement authorities in 6 different countries have joined forces to take down a super cartel of drug traffickers controlling about 1/3 of the cocaine trade in Europe. The European Union Crime Agency announced today that 49 suspects were arrested during the investigation, over 30 tons of drugs seized this month. Dow futures down. More from townhall.com.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars fly out the window on healthcare costs is frustrating. Well, here's something that can really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. MediShare 65 Plus. MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it really is a community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. Well, MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. And it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor or get 24/7 telehealth access from the comfort of your home. Very worth looking into during Medicare open enrollment, which ends December 7th. If you join right now, your second month share will be free. So don't miss this chance. Call 855-90-PSALM. That's 855-90-PSALM. 855-90-PSALM.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Drivers that normally take Butler Hill in South St. Louis County, you've got a detour between Ames and Kurth that is shut down. That's due to an earlier accident. We've also got some early morning road work already slowing things down a little bit. 255 northbound at Illinois 15. This report sponsored by Blindster.com, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
A cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Mike Ferguson.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
We have a hope.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm. Get up.
What do you call a genius in President Biden's Homeland Security Department? A visitor.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm. Get up.
Okay, believe it or not, there is activity happening this week in the Missouri legislature. And you're saying, but Mike, that doesn't make any sense. The next session doesn't start till January. I know. So pre-filing starts December 1st typically. And so that's, well, this week, believe it or not. I'm Mike Ferguson. Hey, good morning. How's it going? Appreciate you staying with us here on News Talk STL, joined by the one and the only former Speaker of the House, Tim Jones, who was not picked for Attorney General because we were ready to fight the governor over that, but he's right here. Tim, glad to keep you here on News Talk STL. We have a new Attorney General designate. I'm going to be really honest, Tim, other than I know that he works for the governor and the governor's council. I don't know much about Andrew Bailey. What do you know about him?
Oh, Mike, thanks for having me back on. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Yep. Yeah, it was very flattering and humbling being asked if I was throwing my name in the ring. And I definitely thought about it, but I kind of on a different career path right now. That would have been a big decision to make. And I got 2 daughters about ready to head to college, and so maybe the next time this comes around. So Andrew Bailey, Michael, Andrew Bailey. So I as well, believe it or not, do not know very much about him other than I've heard from some of the inside politicos who work in and around the Capitol that he is a, quote, good guy. I did watch the press conference, and I looked up his resume. He has got quite the sterling credentials. He is a U.S. Army veteran. He is a veteran of the Warren County Prosecutor's Office. He worked as general counsel, I believe, for the Missouri Department of Corrections. And then last but not least, he was in the governor's office as general counsel. So he has built quite a resume for himself over the last 10 plus years. He's not young. He's not old. He's kind of in the sweet spot. I believe he's in his early 40s, which means that if he survives a primary bid, which I believe he likely will have in 2 years, because people are going to say, look, he was appointed, not elected. And I have a feeling some folks are going to take a crack at that office. But I think if he gets to the business of being a good attorney general in the mold of a Josh Hawley and an Eric Schmidt, learns how to raise money in the political game, he'll put up quite the fight if there is a primary contest in less than 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that made Eric Schmidt so popular as Attorney General and made Josh Hawley popular. They were very aggressive going after other government. I mean, going after the federal government with Eric Schmidt, as much as, the Tony Messengers of the world and the Kansas City Stars of the world and the Riverfront Times of the world threw a fit when he went after school districts and county governments over, illegal restrictions. That's one of the things that made him so popular, I believe. Do we have any indication as to whether Andrew Bailey will continue down that sort of aggressive route, or will it be more of your typical attorney general, sue the telemarketers, respond to consumer complaints? And those things are very, very good. But man, Eric Schmidt was so aggressive going after other governmental entities.
Well, and you're right about the fact that the uber woke leftists who unfortunately run the corrupt corporate media here in the state of Missouri, just like they do on the national scene, they hated that. They hated a Josh Hawley and an Eric Schmidt that stood between the people of the state of Missouri and an ever increasing, ever enlarging, ever more intrusive, ever more freedom and liberty robbing federal government. They hate that. They just want them to go after all those big bad businesses, the businesses, the things that employ people, Mike, so that's what they want to, that's what they want to go after.
And some of the businesses, they do deserve it.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Messenger would agree if, for instance, if our attorney general stood in the way between us and woke Disney, for instance. I mean, probably not. But, Mike, actions are going to speak louder than words. Andrew Bailey, you asked a very insightful question, because that question was asked of him a couple different ways at his press conference last, I guess it was Wednesday, right before the holiday. And he did say that he would absolutely be an attorney general in the same vein as his two predecessors, and that he would absolutely finish up any of the unfinished business that Attorney General Eric Schmidt had been working on. As it's interesting, Mike, there was an interesting kind of dual lens going on last week. You had the new Attorney General being announced, and well, he'll be sworn in the future. You had the new Attorney General being announced, and you had the current Attorney General Eric Schmidt literally taking the depositions of people like Tony Fauci and Jen Psaki about the big tech, big government collusion that was going on back during COVID tyranny. So, I'm sure that Mr. Bailey felt that he needed to exemplify some of those character traits and some of that work ethic that Attorney General Schmidt has said. But look, we're going to have to see what his actions are, right? I mean, it's very easy on the heels of an attorney general who just won by nearly 15 points to say, yeah, I'm going to be just like that guy, because that would be the popular thing to say. We'll see what his actions bear out.
Yeah, we could absolutely love the guy a year from now, or we could be looking ahead to a primary a year from now. It all's going to depend on Andrew Bailey.
Absolutely, indeed. Like we said, actions will speak louder than words. And Mike, think of it this way. I mean, filing will open up for this office in March of 2024. That's barely a year and a half away. We're way less than 2 years from August of 24. So Mr. Bailey's going to have to work his office really hard, and he's going to have to work his politics really hard. He's going to have to make sure that he builds a formidable political machine like what Attorney General Schmidt and U.S. Senator Josh Hawley definitely had.
Yeah, this is where I reintroduce who we're talking to, so people who just joined us know. But you know that voice. That's Tim Jones. You can hear him every afternoon right here with Chris Arps on News Talk STL. All right, you just mentioned what's coming up. A lot of people don't realize it. This week, there can be pre-filing for the next legislative session. You can start filing bills the first week of December. Is this the time for any lawmakers or incoming lawmakers to really make a statement with bills being filed? Or are we just going to kind of get a look at the organizational structure of things?
No, Mike, I think this will be the week where we see not only some of the general outlines of what the agenda is going to be in the House and the Senate, but Mike, I'll tell you, in most cases, early bird gets the worm in most things in life, and that includes bill filing in the state of Missouri as well, because there will be well over 1,000 pieces of legislation filed between the House and the Senate. You cannot physically move that many bills through the legislative session. So in order to have a chance at getting your bill across the finish line, then you need to be one of the people that pre-files your bill either in December or I would say January at the latest. Once you get into February and beyond, it's really tough to move those bills through the entire legislative process. That's how it was designed. It's supposed to be really easy to kill a bunch of bad bills and a bunch of bad ideas. It's supposed to be really hard to get anything across the finish line. The system is messy, but it was designed that way. It was designed to vet those things through. So I think you're going to see some of the unfinished business from last session being filed, and I think you're going to see some folks wanting to. You got a lot of new people, especially in our state Senate, who have never served in office before, like Jill Carter, who defeated an incumbent last year, like Ben Brown, who people often hear in this region, and others who are going to want to make their mark, I think, early in their legislative careers.
How do you think conservatives are going to fare this time around, or conservatism is going to fare? You mentioned the state Senate. I'm not so much worried about really conservative and even smaller libertarian stuff making it through the state House. It just seems to be a lot more conservative there. But in the state Senate, are we going to have a better response to actual conservatives than in the past? Because I got to tell you, Tim, I've known Caleb Rowden a long time, but I've been really disappointed that he's really essentially gone unchallenged as leader, because he's been kind of hostile to really conservative stuff.
I would agree with you, Mike. And I don't know what the fear is here in the state of Missouri. It seems that as the supermajority in Missouri has become more Republican, they have not become more conservative. And largely from the leadership ranks on down, the leadership that's been selected by the caucuses over the last few years has been a very centrist legislative model. They seem to be more interested in taking care of the special interests, the bureaucrats, and the lobbyists than they have the people of the state of Missouri, which is why, Mike, you saw a pretty loud uprising of the people this year and saying, look, we've sent Republicans to Jefferson City to do Republican things, and y'all haven't. So the needle has ticked slightly to the right, I believe, in the overall makeup of the General Assembly. But, Mike, it takes a while for that to kind of feed through up into the upper ranks. And so I would agree with you. I still think we have a very centrist-leaning legislative team in both the House and the Senate. But I do think with Majority Leader Patterson and with Majority Leader O'Laughlin being elected as the number twos in each of those chambers, that I'm hoping that they will push the more conservative agenda that you and I would both like to see move a little bit forward. Because, Mike, it's really embarrassing that states like Florida, who have smaller Republican majorities, are doing more Republican things than we've done in Missouri the last two cycles.
Yeah, I've got about a minute left, Tim. Do you think this could be the year that we could actually get real, robust Arizona-style school choice, for instance?
I think it's possible. People have said, don't worry about the Blaine Amendment anymore because that has prohibited a lot of that. We have a Blaine Amendment. It's a long story, but a lot of the Supreme Court decisions that have occurred from the U.S. Supreme Court many people believe have shot Blaine in the foot, and that it's dead man walking, and that we should go for full Arizona-style vouchers. I know, Mike, we've got some people that are interested in that, and I hope that those legislators file such bills and really put parents and kids in charge of education instead of the bureaucrats in the Department of Ed.
And the teachers' unions, don't forget that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, indeed.
All right, along with Chris Harpsey here, Tim Jones every afternoon right here on News Talk STL. Hey, Tim, appreciate you being back on the program. You're a busy guy, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mike. Always good to talk to you and your entire crew in the morning.
All right, 314-912-1019. You got any thoughts on anything Tim just said? Let's talk about it right here on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
They still have some restrictions on Butler Hill west of Kurth due to an earlier overnight crash. Some good news for Metrolink riders. The Blue Line trains are resuming service today to Fairview Heights. Because of flood damage from last summer, the line's only been operating between Shrewsbury and Forest Park to Bolivar. So again, Metrolink resuming service on the Blue Line to Fairview Heights today. I'm Joe Sonderman, and that is the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry! Sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
As a noun, hiatus is an interruption in time, a pause, or a break. As a tequila, hiatus is naturally clean yet complex, ideal for sipping neat, but it also shines in a cocktail. Some companies cut corners, but we prefer to take our time as our blue agave plants take up to 8 years to fully ripen. We got your taste at Hiatus Tequila. Go on a hiatus from the everyday. You deserve it.
Get 10% off your first order using coupon code HOLLY10 on shophiatustequila.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point. There's been stunning news out of China lately as large-scale protests over the country's draconian zero-COVID policy have erupted in Beijing, Shanghai, and elsewhere. It isn't that protests are unheard of in China, but on this scale and coupled with calls for Xi Jinping and the CCP to step down, they seem to have reached a heightened pitch. Don't hold your breath on meaningful change, though. Few things are prized by Xi and the party more than stability, and if that means clamping down hard on the populace, so be it. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., the very online left is losing its collective mind over the prospect of speech being freer on a social media platform. As Elon Musk settles into his new ownership of Twitter and sets about making changes designed to make it a digital town square with more free-flowing ideas, we have folks like Alyssa Milano virtue signaling her way out of a Tesla into a VW, and Monica Lewinsky bemoaning the fact that she's suddenly being subjected to views that differ from her own, presumably due to tweaks in the site's algorithms. So, while the Chinese people cry out for more freedom from their tyrannical government, pampered privileged Americans caterwaul over having more of it on a social media platform from which they're free to come and go.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter at SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, how you doing? Santa Vic here. You can win some great prizes with Newstalk STL's St. Louis Conservative Christmas.
And that's not crap.
See, that's not, we do that's crap. It's not, well done.
Log on to NewstalkSTL.com for your chance to win. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
The week ahead. Monday, Americans will be going online for holiday shopping deals as retailers take part in Cyber Monday. Many stores began offering Cyber Monday deals early this year in hopes of capturing a bigger market share of holiday sales. Wednesday, thousands will gather near Times Square and millions of television viewers will see the lighting of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. The 82-foot-tall Norway spruce is adorned with more than 50,000 multicolored LED lights and a Swarovski star. Wednesday also marks the official end of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. Thursday, President Biden will host French President Emmanuel Macron at the White House for a state visit. The two are expected to discuss a number of global issues, including the war in Ukraine. Friday, Northrop Grumman is set to reveal the Air Force B-21 Raider aircraft, the country's newest strategic bomber. The B-21 is expected to take the skies early next year, intended to replace the B-2 Spirit and the B-1 Lancer. And that's a look at your week ahead. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News.
Okay, still ahead this hour. At 6:35, our friend Phil Kerpen from American Commitment is going to be with us. He says that Missouri in particular, now this is interesting, is in a unique place to push back against the Biden administration's student debt relief forgiveness program.
Mm-hmm.
So Oklahoma and Missouri in particular, and he's going to explain why.
Looking forward to talking to my
Yeah, that'll be
about
interesting.
I got that email from the Department of Education this past week that basically said, because when they put out the website, they said, apply here and we could knock off $10,000 or whatever $1,000. I'm like, terrible public policy, but I'm just going to fill it out and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I got the thing that says, well, you've been approved. But because of all these terrible lawsuits against this, you know, we can't forgive any of this debt right now, but we've notified Mohila, going back to what we're going to talk to Phil Kerpen about this, and let them know that you qualify. And then basically went on a campaign spiel for a couple paragraphs in this official document, is this official email from the Department of Education.
It's almost like they have a position on it.
Yeah, imagine that. Yes. You know, the Biden-Harris administration is here fighting for you. And I'm like, yeah, this is one of the ways they get all those young know-nothings to vote for him.
A position on the NEA? I can't believe that.
Oh, man, it's just bizarre. So, yeah, we'll talk to Phil about that because I was reading his op-ed on it. It's a pretty interesting take.
Yeah, it is.
We're coming basically to Mohila.
It's going to involve some legal strategery.
A lot of it, which he will make sense of, hopefully, for us here in about just about 10 minutes. All right, I'm Mike Ferguson. It is 6:25. Susie Moore in for Gabe Pfeiffer. One more time, Ken Williams is here as well. Something remarkable is happening in China right now.
It is.
I mean, remarkable. I mean, this is big. We've got Fox News' Alexandria Hoff with the story. What's happening is that protests against China's zero COVID policies continue. They seem to be growing. I mean, you've got to be a little skeptical of anything you see coming out of China, but we've now got, confirmed multiple actual media outlets that some of them that I question, some of them that I trust, that are all saying the same thing. You've got mass protests against the CCP right now. And there's a lot of increased tensions between protesters and police. Fox News' Alexandria Hoff, like I said, has the story.
Demonstrations have been breaking out in cities and college campuses across the country where pieces of blank white paper are being used to represent censorship. Critics of China's zero COVID policy feel that the social and economic toll of extreme lockdowns are more costly than the benefit of trying to contain an uncontainable virus. While there have been some officials talking about potentially easing COVID restrictions in certain places, it appears that the Chinese government is doubling down on that. There have been certain cities where rising COVID cases is actually leading to new lockdowns. We have that had the iPhone factory workers. That's actually going to be locked down until Tuesday.
Okay, Susie, here's what's remarkable is it doesn't really matter what they're protesting over. I mean, the COVID zero policies is horrible. It's irrational, and it's obviously just a way to keep people controlled because that is the foundation of their governmental process out there. I don't think in the West, I don't think we fully grasp how risky this is to say, I don't like what the government is doing. If they emailed or texted that from their home to somebody, man, I don't like what the chairman's doing. They risk getting drug off and disappear.
Yeah.
Now you've got people by the thousands and thousands clashing with police over these policies. It just happens to be about COVID. But I think it shows you that considering all the flaws in human nature, at some point you can push even the most conditioned too far. And now that's what China's got. Now, eventually, China's probably just going to roll out the tanks.
Yeah, they're going to crack down. And here's why I say that. Interestingly enough, coincidence, I guess. Just this past week, I listened to the podcast called The Prince, which is put out by The Economist, and it's the bio on Xi Jinping. It's an 8-episode podcast. I highly recommend it for anybody who likes podcasting. It's very informative, and it really gives you some insight into who Xi is and what drives him and what drives the CCP at this point. And the key factor there is stability and order. And they're I guess one of the things that they look at as sort of the model of what not to do is what happened with the Soviet Union. They see that as a huge negative, and the last thing that they're going to want to do is relinquish any power and release the hold the party has over the Chinese people. So, I don't know at what point they're going to do it. I would imagine it's probably going to be pretty soon, but yes, they will be cracking down, and it's unfortunate. It is amazing to see people that generally go along with a lot of the sort of statist and authoritarian controls pushing back, and it's encouraging and it's hopeful, but I don't have a whole lot of hope for where that will ultimately lead.
Yeah, the last time this happened, of course, Tiananmen Square, 1989, and they're saying that uprising, that uprising was tamped down with military force, and I think it's going to happen again. But you can't have a populace like that many people tamped down and shackled like they are for long. I mean, I think eventually people are just going to give up on this, and they're going to have to en masse, unless they can find a way to keep them all in their homes. Somehow, I think they're going to come out of this. I don't care if it's 20 years from now or what. They're going to get away from this CCP.
It's a numbers game. It has to reach that critical mass. And the problem you have 1.3 billion people in China, maybe 1.4 billion. And so you have a massive population, but you also have a government that's set up in a way. And Xi just recertified, basically amassed more power for himself and for the CCP just in October.
You have 1.3, 1.4 billion unarmed people
Correct.
speaking up.
And that's a big deal. And you've got to think about the people that are there. We were talking about this earlier with Mike and I, where that these people, they're not really aware. Like we think that they're all gung ho, pro communist China. They're not. They're just people living their lives trying to survive. And I think if enough of these 1.4 billion people get together somehow, I think they can actually overcome this, but it's going to take a lot of people lost lives. Hopefully it won't, but it's going to take a lot of lost lives.
Here's the biggest hindrance at this point. Because of the technology age that we live in, the government has such oversight and control over the populace through their smartphones and their technology. There's no good way for them to organize and communicate.
There is a separate internet in China that is run completely by the CCP. And our big tech companies work with them to make sure that we're not running afoul of the CCP, or they're not running afoul of the CCP. And the information is controlled in a huge way.
Right.
It really is.
Well,
and they get, I'm sorry, but they get the social credit score thing.
Yep.
And did they digitize their currency at this point yet?
I don't know.
They've begun that process at least.
Yeah.
I mean, there still are physical.
They're in complete
line out
control.
there, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So it's lessons that we should be taking, we in the West should be taking, and yet so many people in America seem to be like so willing to embrace that form of government.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm looking at that because they are risking their very lives at any second by participating, even just being out there observing. That's what they're risking. And we had people roll over and cower when they were told not to go to church or to not have people over for dinner. They snitched on each other to the county government. And so those people are about 1 million times braver than so many of the people right here when we take our freedom for granted.
It's true.
Absolutely. 314-912-1019. All right, the Biden administration is still trying to give away trillions of dollars of money to those of us who owe student loan payments. And Phil Kerpen from American Commitment says Missouri in particular is in a unique position to stop this. We'll get his take on that just ahead, right around 6:36 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign.
101.9 and 94.1.
There are other rising stars in the party.
News Talk STL.
From the News Talk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. Former Board of Alderman President Louis Reed believes he should not have to repay the bribe money the government used to catch him, but he is willing to pay a fine equal to that amount. The assistant U.S. attorney countered that offer by citing a 1991 case in which the courts determined that a fine of twice the amount of the bribe was appropriate. Students of Collegiate School for Medicine and Bioscience will return to in-person learning today after 3 weeks of virtual classes following a school shooting in October that killed 2 people. Central Visual and Performing Arts High School, where the shooting took place, shares a campus with Collegiate. A local developer will be seeking approval from the St. Louis Preservation Board on December 5th to demolish a former Wells Fargo office at Market Street and Jefferson Avenue to make way for 2 hotels. The property was purchased from Wells Fargo in 2020 for nearly $6 million. The St. Charles County Parks Department was called to handle a fuel spill in the creek at Quail Ridge Park Friday morning, but could not find the source of the spill. The spill is not expected to impact local drinking water, but will need to be removed. And in sports, in college football, during the Battle Line rivalry game Friday night, Mizzou held off Arkansas 29-27 to reach bowl eligibility. Both teams now await bowl destinations, with the Tigers possibly jumping the Razorbacks in pecking order. And the Blues welcome the Stars to Enterprise tonight. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Just starting to pick up a little volume. 55 north, running up through Carondelet and Bates. 255 northbound at Route 15. We've got right lane closure for road work already this morning. Otherwise, just normal volume. Haven't seen much at all here in the last few minutes. This report sponsored by Mucinex DM. Say goodbye to retaking medicine every few hours. By Mucinex DM to get cough and chest congestion relief for 3 times longer than typical 4-hour cough and chest congestion medicines. That's 3 times longer relief for chest congestion and cough. Nothing lasts longer. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
A cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Iron foul. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
What if everything you thought and believed to be true about owning and buying your home turned out to be wrong?
Straightforward, objective advice on the right way to make the most out of every dollar you put into your home.
We're the only country that has one of those. Most other countries, considering like Canada, the UK, they don't have long-term fixed-rate mortgages like that. They're all variable-rate mortgages.
HomeWise with Michael Midget, Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. The Vic Porcelli Show.
The next Missouri Senator, Nick Schroer.
You know, it is good that Nancy Pelosi's not in America right now. It's less destruction that she can partake in. I can't get over her eyebrows. I mean, if you watch her eyebrows and watch inflation, it shows you the trends in inflation rising.
Huh?
And during Trump, her eyebrows were normal.
It's an economic indicator. Her eyebrows.
Really is. I don't know if it's the Botox or the vodka.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Hope you had a blessed, fat, and happy and healthy Thanksgiving. We're back Monday with Jim Talent at 4:25. Susie Moore of Red State, 5:25.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Okay, 7:05, we're going to talk to our friends from the American Firearms Association. We've got the president, we've got the leftist in Congress, and some governors now just basically looking at the clock. I mean, they are looking at their proverbial watch, Susie, and saying, oh boy, time's running out. The time that we can just shove anything through is running out, and they are really piping up about guns again. I mean, the Supreme Court, said the Second Amendment means what it says, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We got a few weeks to push a bunch of gun control stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So
take advantage of it.
7:05, we're going to get the update from American Firearms Association. 6:38 right now. Got Susie Moore in for Gabe Pfeiffer one more time. Gabe will be back tomorrow. Ken Williams is here. And let's get an update on the student loan bailout, student loan forgiveness program that the Biden administration has pushed. Obviously, we know it's tied up in court with multiple lawsuits. But could Missouri in particular be in the place to block this permanently from a legal strategy perspective? We're joined now by Phil Kerpen, friend of the show, also with American Commitment. Phil, hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Now, when you say Oklahoma and Missouri are in a unique position to fight back, what is it that makes it unique for Missouri in particular?
Well, there are 9 entities that service direct federal loans, which means they manage the payments and they manage the accounts, and then they get a percent or two off the top as their compensation. And those entities, those servicing entities, are really by far the best plaintiffs to challenge the Biden administration because they're directly harmed. If half of the loans that they service are discharged, they make half as much money. It's very simple. And so it's not, any other potential plaintiff had a pretty strained attempt to show that they were harmed. But if any of the 9 servicers sued, well, then they have a very strong claim to standing, and you can get to the merits. And of course, what the Biden administration did is very hard to defend on the merits, which is why they've tried to get the lawsuits dismissed on standing. Now, of the 9 servicing entities, 7 are private companies, but 2 are state agencies. Those are the Oklahoma Higher Education Loan Authority and the Missouri Higher Education Loan Authority. So, if you sort of looked at the lay of the land, the private entities are pretty unlikely to sue because all of the federal servicing contracts end at the end of 2023. So they set it all up. So it's going to be the same administration, the same education department that grants the next round of contracts. And so the fear, the perception among these companies, of course, is, well, if I sue, then they're going to hate me, and then I'm going to get frozen out of the next round of contracts completely, whether I win or lose. And so none of them are going to sue. But the 2 that are state agencies, well, they're in pretty conservative states, and, they're controlled by the governors that appoint them and the state senates that confirm them as boards of directors. And so they were, I thought, much more susceptible to political consideration. They might be more willing to sue. As it turned out, neither of those entities was willing to sue in their own name. But what happened is in Missouri, the Attorney General sued on behalf of the Missouri Higher Education Loan Authority. And in the initial district court, the judge said that doesn't fly. They have to sue under their own name. The state can't sue on their behalf. But on appeal, the Eighth Circuit said, yeah, absolutely, the state can sue on their behalf. This is a state instrumentality created by state law. The board's appointed by the governor. They're subject to the state sunshine law. This looks like a state agency. You can sue on their behalf. And they put an injunction on the whole student loan bailout program on the basis of that Missouri being in that lawsuit. And there were 5 other states in that lawsuit, but none of them had very good claims to standing. So Missouri was really the key in that. And that's now the case that is pending at the Supreme Court. And Kavanaugh is the justice that Biden's appeal was referred to. And he's asked for briefing, which means he'll probably refer it to the full court for a decision on whether to take the case or not. But that's where we stand right now. I think that it's very likely that Missouri will prevail in their argument that they have standing to sue on behalf of the Missouri Higher Education Loan Authority, and therefore they will reach the merits in this case. And on the merits, I think Biden has a very, very weak case. And so I'm pretty optimistic that this injunction is going to stay in place, but that's where it is right now.
Phil, you anticipated my my follow-up question there, and that was how this dovetails with the suits that are already pending. It sounds like, from what you're saying, that Missouri, has the best shot from a standing standpoint, and that there is some reason to be hopeful that this will eventually make its way to the Supreme Court and be heard by them, and hopefully they will find the program unconstitutional. Where's Oklahoma in this? Have they indicated or signaled? Have they joined any of the lawsuits, or are they just sitting back?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was really hoping that they would sue as well, and they've got a very similar situation. They've got a loan authority there that's a quasi arm of the state, but arguably is an arm of the state, just like Missouri does, appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate, and so forth. But they never sued. They never sued under their name. I tried pretty hard, actually. The head of their loan authority there in Oklahoma is actually a big conservative donor. So I thought this was like the perfect one. And I tried various angles to reach them. And for whatever reason, they've not sued. They did sign on to an amicus brief in the Missouri case that's pending at the Supreme Court. And so there was like 15 or 20 states that filed an amicus brief supporting the 6 states that are actually plaintiff states on the lawsuit, and they were one of those. So Oklahoma has now signed an amicus brief, but they've still not filed their own lawsuit.
Good morning, Phil. This is Ken Williams. I'm not a litigator or an economist or anything, but in regard to the loan forgiveness program that Biden wants to institute, if that actually did go through, in the long run, wouldn't that be a windfall for colleges and universities?
Yeah, no question. It would lead to another huge ratchet up in tuitions, particularly for graduate programs, because there are 2 things that would happen if they were able to put this through. One is there would be an expectation that there would be future forgivenesses of similar amounts, basically any time a Democrat's in, which means the colleges would be able to pitch kids on, take out the maximum loans. You're not going to end up paying them anyway. Forgiveness comes every few years when the Democrats are in, and that would really increase their pricing power. But the other aspect of it is the change to income-driven repayment. Biden wants to change income-driven repayment to be just 5% of disposable income for 10 years, and then your whole loan is discharged. And that change, in particular for graduate programs where there's no limit to the amount that you can borrow, I think that basically any graduate program other than maybe law school or med school, they're going to look at this and say 0 of our students are ever going to pay more than the 5% cap because their earnings are going to be much lower than what we're already charging in tuition. And therefore, no matter how much we increase it, the costs are going to fall on taxpayers, not on our students. And the deans, I think, would lick their lips and they would say, you know what, we can jack tuitions up to the moon. And our pitch to students will just be, look, you're going to pay the same 5% of disposable income for 10 years and that's it regardless. So, why not lavish on, more taxpayer money on the school, and we'll have more amenities, and we'll add, even more lavish this, that, and the other thing. And so I think this would be very, very harmful for college affordability, precisely because the colleges would understand that if taxpayers are picking up more of the tab, that means they can make the tab bigger.
We are visiting with Phil Kerpen from American Commitment, and just got about a minute or so left, Phil. The weird thing is, because these lawsuits are essentially based on the Biden administration not having the constitutional or legal authority to simply make this decision. I mean, if the Democrats shove this thing through legislatively, there really isn't as much of a challenge, is it?
No, I mean, I think if they passed the law, it would stand up. The irony of this whole thing, of course, is, when they nationalized student lending, it used to be that that the federal government would subsidize loans, but they were all through private banks. And they changed that. They nationalized student lending in 2010, basically, in the sidecar bill to Obamacare. It was called the Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act. And they said, well, the banks are making all this money in interest. The federal government's going to take it over, and it's going to make money for taxpayers. And that's how we're going to help pay for Obamacare. And I think they claimed they're going to make $150 billion or something. And then 3 years later, they said, oh, no, we're actually going to lose $200 billion. I mean, that was how quickly it was. The government went from we're going to make money on student loans to we're going to lose a lot of money. It happened in just a couple of years, and of course, now they would love to lose even more. They would love to intentionally lose $500 billion or $1 trillion just by giving it away. And I think that if they actually passed a law that said the federal government that holds this debt is no longer going to collect on it, I don't know what basis there would be to challenge that. That said, they obviously don't have the votes to do that. If they had all the Democrats agreeing, it would have been in, the Inflation Reduction Act or something like that. They've got at least some Democrats that balk at that, for political reasons or policy reasons or whatever, which is why you got a president who's trying to basically steal Congress's power of the purse and spend $500 billion on his own.
All right, Phil Kerpen, American Commitment. Where can we find the op-ed that you wrote? Oklahoma and Missouri can and must stop Biden student loan bailout. Where is it?
You can get it on AmericanCommitment.org, and we're going to be watching. We might see something from the Supreme Court this week. We'll see what they decide to do on this.
All right, well, we'll probably bug you sooner rather than later then to get an update from you.
All right, sounds good, Mike. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, Phil. Phil Kerpen from American Commitment. 314-912-1019. So if Congress pushed it through, the Democrats actually stay through, it would probably withstand legal challenge. It would still be terrible policy.
Oh, yeah.
But you got a whole different set of things. I think they're fighting to hold on to that executive power as much as anything else.
Right.
That's part of this issue right here. All right, got some thoughts on it. Let's hear it. 314-912-1019. Also, little public service announcement when it comes to those leftover turkey stuff.
Oh.
That's now starting to
congeal.
Yes. A very good word for it. That's still ahead on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Just starting to pick up a little volume. 55 north, running up through Carondelet and Bates. 255 northbound at Route 15. We've got right lane closure for road work already this morning. Otherwise, just normal volume. Haven't seen much at all here in the last few minutes. This report sponsored by Mucinex DM. Say goodbye to retaking medicine every few hours. By Mucinex DM to get cough and chest congestion relief for 3 times longer than typical 4-hour cough and chest congestion medicines. That's 3 times longer relief for chest congestion and cough. Nothing lasts longer. I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Hey everybody, this is Paul Kurtman, host of the Paul Kurtman Show on News Talk STL, but I'm also the president of PR Kurtman Investments. The market is down and inflation is up, So if you have questions about the investments in your portfolio, please let me help. Just send me an email by visiting freedomportfolios.com. There's no cost. The market might be uncertain, but that doesn't mean you should be too. Contact me today, Paul Kurtman, by visiting freedomportfolios.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Okay, going to give you a little sneak peek on something.
Oh, yeah.
And that is, all right, we don't have our Christmas giveaway up and running just yet.
Okay.
But it's going to be next week.
Oh.
So I'm going to jump the gun here just a little bit, just so you know that if you go to newstalkstl.com, starting next week, you're going to be able to register and get in the drawings for a lot of giveaways on there. Now, one of the best ways to be reminded of that is just go to newstalkstl.com right now and sign up for our newsletter, which come out basically once a week. You just get a collection of some of the biggest stories and interviews and political cartoons and all sorts of stuff. But you'll get a good reminder of that as well. And so starting next week, starting 1 week from today, we're going to be giving away News Talk STL stuff at least 4 times a day.
Oh, that's a lot.
Because we're a giving group of people.
Because we can.
We're a bunch of Santa Clauses.
That's right.
Yeah, something like that. So check that out and definitely newstalkstl.com and get the newsletter. That's a really good newsletter.
It is a good newsletter. It does not clutter your email or your inbox in your email.
Let's be honest, there were some bad newsletters in our
there
industry
are.
out there.
There are.
This is not one of them.
It's concise. It gets it hits the highlights, and it's once a week.
And it's local and it's very comprehensive. I mean, we get Todd Showalter's cartoon.
Right.
We do.
Well, when Katie put this together, Katie was saying, you know what we're not going to do? The lousy newsletters.
Yeah.
That's what we're not going to do.
She did a great job putting it together.
Katie's put together
it's
a really
very good newsletter.
Oh, it really is. All right. The Biden administration thinks it is sick that the Second Amendment allows us to have guns in the United States.
How sick?
Sick. So we're going to get reaction from our friends at the American Firearms Association at 7:05. All right, little public service announcement here. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, you should toss your turkey leftovers out after 3 or 4 days, which means today.
Okay.
Whatever you have not eaten, you should be tossing out today. You going to toss them out?
Well, I don't have any turkey leftovers. I have some green bean casserole leftovers. But
That's fine.
Those went back to Columbia with my daughter, so I'll let her worry about that.
There you go. You paid up her health insurance, right?
Yes,
You're
she's
fine.
covered.
You're fine.
Good.
Yeah, you're fine.
I posted on our website, on our Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
my brother doing the turkey.
Yeah.
He does an amazing turkey. He had it in a brine. He did all this stuff to it. It's gone.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it.
We have a little bit of turkey left, but we did the whole thing where we're eating like turkey sandwiches and sliders, Friday and Saturday.
Turkey tetrazzini?
We didn't do that.
I thought it was
good stuff.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good
yeah.
stuff.
But my wife and my mom and I did end up at Maggiano's once, and my mom and I ended up at Longhorn yesterday as well. But I think I'm going to be able to go, see, look, says it right here. Government says I need to toss this out. I got to do what government says.
You know what that makes me wonder?
What's that?
You know when you get like the sliced turkey from the grocery store?
Yeah.
And its expiration date is like, 3 weeks later?
Right.
So what's in that makes that okay for 3 or 4 weeks?
And lots of sodium
I
is
guess.
what's in there. I do not eat
Well
the deli
preserved.
turkey anymore because turkey and chicken like some of the healthiest things you can get, but the deli stuff is just loaded with sodium. It's like, wow, expiration date December 22nd, 2028. What? That's not.
Makes
that
you
doesn't
wonder.
seem right. So I'm just saying, is be careful what you are eating at this point if it's left over from Thanksgiving.
Ooh, it's been sitting way too long. It smells so wrong. Don't want to get another case of salmonella. I ate it through the weekend, but not again. Don't want to get another case of salmonella. The stuffing is okay. It'll keep for another day. The turkey's gotta go. Won't you please put it down the drain? No, 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 no. Pew! Don't want no salmonella. That's all I'm trying to tell ya.
Okay, it's not necessarily salmonella, but the bacteria didn't fit the
But it
salmon.
sounded good.
It sounded good. Yeah, exactly. Okay, round the room. Good Thanksgiving, everybody?
Yeah, real good.
Yes. I think you did not host. You went to your brother's, or did you host?
No, I went to my brother's.
You went to your
Yeah,
brother's, that's right.
all the pictures that I posted online were of me sitting there having a beverage and my
Yeah.
brother cooking.
There you go.
So that was good.
I went to my brother's.
Okay, we hosted at our house. My daughter brought the boyfriend over for the first time.
Yeah.
So that actually went pretty well.
Good.
He seems like a nice guy.
Good. Yeah. My daughter came in. Well, she was there for Thanksgiving, and then her boyfriend came in for the weekend, and I got to meet him for the first time, too. And that went well.
Yeah, good first impression.
Yeah. Like the guy.
Yeah.
Seems like a good kid.
My daughters, one came in from Missouri S&T, and then the other one came back from the Smoky Mountains as a conservation, and she's interning there, and she just came back, and so we had a full house of people, all four of us together again, and it's interesting because once you become an empty nester and then they come back, it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
The refrigerator really fills up fast.
Yeah,
it's very different.
Here's the thing: it also empties fast.
Yeah, it does. She actually put a bunch of ingredients, Madison, the older one, and she made this big bread thing.
Huh.
She's cooking. So we've got another cook in the house right now.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. The empty nesting thing is, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah.
I like having my kids around. I'm just saying
Right
that
there
once you
with
get once you get to the empty nesting thing, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
It's the best of both worlds. I loved empty nesting. It was interesting a transition at first, but man, I miss my kids.
Yeah, no.
My girls, I'll tell you, when they're gone, I'm like I'm calling them, they're calling me, and we got a good relationship.
I talk or text to Amber multiple times a week because she lives here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she was in between apartments earlier this year. Was it this spring? So basically one lease was running out, but the next place didn't have the apartment ready for, so she needed a place to crash for like a month. We're like, yeah, sure, come on and crash. After a couple weeks, I'm like, when's your apartment going to be ready again? Oh, man. All right, American Firearms Association going to get their reaction to what the president said. He actually said it is sick that you're allowed to buy some of these guns.
Okay, Joe.
He's not talking about Uzis, not talking about rocket
he thinks
launchers.
He is, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Unbelievable. We'll have that just ahead.
The Range St. Louis West is Missouri's best indoor shooting range. With 20 climate-controlled lanes, over 70 firearms available to rent, and the best staff in the business, you're guaranteed to enjoy every minute of your time with us. Our impressive showroom is full of the latest and greatest offerings from the best manufacturers in the business. Need an optic, spare magazines, holster, or any other accessory? Let our professional staff help you find exactly what you need and get it installed for you. Mention you heard us on Newstalk STL and save $100 on your membership and enjoy even more goodies. The Range St. Louis West. Are you ready?
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn.
Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewstalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Chinese citizens are fed up with the country's strict zero COVID policy, and the anger spread out into the streets over the weekend. The complaints have escalated since a deadly apartment fire.
What started as memorial services for those who died in the fire have transformed into demonstrations calling for the government to allow Chinese people to return to their pre-COVID lives. In the southwestern city of Chengdu, the protest chants also turned towards Xi Jinping, calling for an end to his lifelong tenure as China's leader and saying they don't need an emperor. Zero COVID is becoming a political nightmare for China's leadership.
That's the BBC's Stephen McDonnell. Hawaii's Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano, has started to erupt, prompting volcanic ash and debris to fall nearby. The eruption began late last night, and this morning authorities say lava flows are contained and not threatening nearby communities. Some 90,000 homes and businesses in Maryland lost power last night after a small plane crashed into a utility tower and got stuck 100 feet off the ground. The pilot and passenger were rescued several hours later. Speaking on WJLA, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue spokesman Pete Perringer.
There's some damage there to the tower that would take a couple of days, if not a couple of weeks. And, of course, we have to get the plane down. So Pepco and the contractor has requested our presence here.
Electricity has been restored to the area. The suspect in a triple homicide in Southern California who died in a shootout with police is believed to have driven across the country to meet a teenage girl before killing 3 members of her family. The teenager unharmed and taken into protective custody. More at townhall.com.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars fly out the window on healthcare costs is frustrating. Well, here's something that can really help, and it's worth taking a minute to look into. MediShare 65 Plus. MediShare is a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it really is a community, too. People encourage and pray for each other. Well, MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. It's a great way to fight inflation, too. You can lock in one low monthly price for up to 10 years. And it's easy. You can use any Medicare-approved doctor or get 24/7 telehealth access from the comfort of your home. Very worth looking into during Medicare open enrollment, which ends December 7th. If you join right now, your second month share will be free. So don't miss this chance. Call 855-90-PSALM. That's 855-90-PSALM. 855-90-PSALM.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Got a crash in the 2 right lanes northbound 55 at 270. So traffic is jammed back through Butler Hill, especially in those right lanes. Police on the scene. 79 southbound, showing big delays between Main and TR Hughes. I don't have any incidents reported there. It's possible that's a signal issue. I'm Joe Sonderman. This report sponsored by Dell Technologies from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Dell's Cyber Monday sale starts now with up to $500 off on select XPS and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on essential accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by House Sold Easy. Looking to sell a house fast? Call David today at 314-293-3000. That's David with House Sold Easy at 314-293-3000.
Hey folks, here's great news for active aging seniors. The Kanega Watch, the only medical alert smartwatch with built-in fall detection. Yeah, the Kanega Watch is much different than the other guys. It's a stylish, discreet watch you can wear all the time. Get help through the watch in one of 3 ways. Your voice, pushing the watch's alert button, or have the fall detection connect you to a U.S.-based 24/7 monitoring center who'll speak to you through your watch and can send help to your GPS location nationwide. And get this, it can do that even if you're not responsive. This is true 24/7 peace of mind for you and those that love you. Order your Kanega Watch with a full refund 30-day trial period. Call now, 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. 800-413-7152. That's 800-413-7152.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it is absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with irony.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple song stereo!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. Drain the swamp and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin Rob.
The left is well aware that their window of, what do you want to call it? Not really a monopoly on politics right now, because obviously the U.S. Supreme Court still has kind of an originalist bent to
Total
it.
control.
Yeah, when it comes to legislative and executive, they know they are running out of time. Very, very narrow window. And the idea of a lame duck session, I don't think it's going to happen this time around, Susie.
No, I think they're going to be very active.
Very aggressive, I think. By the way, Susie Moore is in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. Hello. Ken Williams is here. We are now joined by Aaron Dorr from our friends at the American Firearms Association. Aaron, I've got a couple sound bites I want to get your response to and reaction to. Just over the holiday, the president was asked. He was responding to obviously the tragedy in the Walmart in Virginia, but as expected, he takes it and ramps up his attack not just on a shooter or on any one particular person, really the basis of the Second Amendment altogether. Here's what the president said, and I want to know what you think.
One of the first red flag laws in the state of Delaware, my son Bo was the one enforcing it, and it made a lot of difference. It saved lives. So that's number one. Number two, the idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. It's just sick. It has no social redeeming value. Zero. None. Not a single solitary rationale for it except profit for the gun manufacturer.
Can you do anything about gun laws during the lame duck, sir?
I'm going to try.
What will you try and do?
I'm going to try to get rid of assault weapons.
During the lame duck?
I'm going to do it whenever I got to make that assessment as I get in and start counting the votes.
Mr. President, you said...
Well, there it is, Aaron. No socially redeeming value, and it's just sick that we can buy a semi-auto, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the time, guys. I appreciate it. Joe Biden is an out-and-out tyrant. Everybody knows that. And if he had his way, he would disarm every single American. The guy is clearly on a holy war against gun owners because he wants to have complete control in this country. And where the one thing holding him at bay right now is an armed population.
Aaron, do you think Joe Biden knows what a semi-automatic weapon is, or the distinction between that and when he's talking about that and assault weapons?
That's a fair question to ask. At the end of the day, he probably doesn't know left from right, up from down, but his handlers do, and Chris Murphy does, and Chuck Schumer does, and those guys have the same mentality Joe Biden has, whether it's an AR-15 or a semi-auto in general. They want to ban them all, and if they have their way, they're going to try and do exactly that during lame duck.
You just mentioned Senator Chris Murphy. He was on CNN's State of the Union this weekend, and he actually is taking it, believe it or not, a step further. So, Aaron, tell me your reaction to this when he's basically giving a very nicely suit and tie, buttoned up version of defund the police all over the Second Amendment.
I think the country's going to have to learn about what's going on in this country. The majority of counties in this country have declared that they are not going to enforce state and federal gun laws. They have decided that they are going to essentially refuse to implement laws that are on the books. That is a growing problem in this country. And I think we're going to have a conversation about that in the United States Senate. Do we want to continue to supply funding to law enforcement in counties that refuse to implement state and federal gun laws? Red flag laws are wildly popular. Right, you're just temporarily taking guns away from people that...
Do you want to withhold money for law enforcement?
I think we have to have a conversation about whether we can continue to fund law enforcement in states where they are refusing to implement these gun laws.
Isn't that kind of like saying defund the police?
Well, he's taking a direct shot across the bow of Missouri because of our Second Amendment Preservation Act. These guys are tyrants. And they are enraged that Missouri has said your gun control agenda will not be enforced by Missouri troopers, deputies, and city cops. They despise that because they know if SEPA spreads, it is the end of their entire federal gun control program. Sure, they can enforce it with their own manpower, but they don't have enough of it, which is why SEPA in Missouri is so potent. And, at the end of the day, if they want to defund localities, SCOTUS has already ruled against that, number one. And number two, it'd be a great thing for America, for the states to reassert their sovereignty. They have their own budgets. They have their own taxing authority. We can fund and take care of our own matters, and we're not going to live on that yoke of their federal dollars, that quote-unquote free money anymore.
Aaron, you raise a really good point there about the dependence on the federal funds, and I think that there needs to be a multi-pronged attack to push back against this sort of authoritarian bent from the federal government on guns and gun control. Do you see other states following Missouri's lead on SEPA?
Oh, absolutely. I was at a huge event in Florida last weekend, and there was lawmakers in probably a dozen red states right now preparing SEPA legislation based on the Missouri concept to be introduced in the January session in red states all across the country. It's exploding like wildfire because everyone knows this is how we can stop an out-of-control president. We simply say we're not going to comply. You can enforce your own federal gun control. We're not challenging that, but you're not going to use our troopers, our deputies, and our city cops to do it. It's a fantastic idea. It's cemented itself here in Missouri. Now it's going to spread, hopefully, across the country next session.
We are visiting with Aaron Dorr from the American Firearms Association. Of course, I know you were really involved in getting SEPA passed in the state of Missouri. Illinois is right now just a lost cause when it comes to the Second Amendment, unfortunately. But in Missouri, now there's pressure, not even just from the usual suspects in the leftist media, but there are even a few Republican, I'm using air quotes here, lawmakers are saying, well, we need to tweak it. We need to, we just need to update it. We need to adjust it. There's a couple problems with it. And there's been some sympathy from people that really shouldn't be sympathy for. Is SEPA safe in the state of Missouri, in your opinion, right now?
I would say to any Republican in Missouri right now, in the Rhino class, debating trying to tweak SEPA, I'd say two things. Number one, good luck. And number two, just ask Eric Greitens how well it worked out for him attacking SEPA law here in Missouri. Good luck.
That put a smile on my face.
I feel like I wrote about that.
Yeah.
Aaron.
No, gun owners in Missouri are absolutely not going to give any quarter to any politician, especially Republicans, who try to weaken any portion of SEPA law. They're going to try, again, they always do. But the primaries were brutal for anti-gun rhinos here in Missouri in August, and we'll dish out more of the same in 2024.
Aaron, there was a push right after SEPA was passed by at least a certain segment. There was like a sheriff's association and a few other law enforcement officials that were expressing their disagreement with it. Where have those folks gone?
I missed the last part of your question.
Oh, where have those folks gone? The law enforcement that was speaking out against SEPA in Missouri.
There's still a variety of lawsuits underway right now at the federal level and here locally in Missouri. Law enforcement's not going to drop their complaints with SEPA, and the main reason for it is twofold. Number one, they lose a piece of power with SEPA law, and it's just the reality. They cannot work with the feds, and they don't like that. And number two, with the federal equitable sharing program with the DOJ, Missouri gained $10 million a year by aiding Joe Biden in these federal task forces. That also has ended here in Missouri. So their objections are not to do with public safety. It's to do with dollars from Uncle Joe, and we're not going to let them get away with that.
Aaron, just got a minute or so left here. Let me go back to the federal aspect of this. A lot of big talk from the president, a lot of big talk from, you mentioned Senator Murphy and some of the others. So they're putting a little bit of pressure on themselves to rush something through. Joe Manchin's in the way. There's a couple others who could be in the way from them. Is there anything conceivably that they could get to the president's desk in the next few weeks if they stay? I mean, something they could stay united enough on. I don't ever want to say don't worry about it because they're basically a wounded animal in a corner right now.
Yeah, we take nothing for granted. We all watched and saw as people like Roy Blunt and Rob Portman and Joni Ernst and a dozen other Republicans stab us all in the back in June and help Joe Biden pass his national funding bill for red flag laws. So we're not out of the woods on this. If we have another mass shooting, God forbid, in this country between now and the end of the calendar year, I think anything right now is possible given the dynamic of the Republicans who are trying to sell us out in D.C. So the pressure has got to be maintained all the way until this session is sunny died towards the end of December.
All right, Aaron Dorr, American Firearms Association. Give out the website, social media, all that kind of stuff for people to get in touch because they should be following you on social media.
Yeah, get involved at joinafa.org, joinafa.org, or our main website, AmericanFirearmsAssociation.org. If you're in Missouri, go to the Missouri Firearms Coalition and get involved there. Thanks a lot for the time, guys. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Thanks,
Hope
Aaron.
you had a great holiday, Aaron.
Take care, guys.
All right, once again, American Firearms Association. Okay, just ahead here, speaking of the Biden administration, I think we're seeing a pattern. I'm going to look ahead to 2024 a little bit. I think we're seeing a pattern of the wagons being circled around Biden right now. And I'm going to tell you why I think, even if he's not going to run, why high-profile Democrats are circling the wagons around him for the next election. I'll explain in about 4 minutes here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
I've had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that? Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your curtain call. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
You want to give me more information?
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Police and fire and EMS all on the scene of a crash 55 northbound before 270. They've got two lanes closed, the right mainline lane and one of the lanes going to northbound 270. You will have to go around. So, of course, that backs up near Butler Hill. 79 southbound showing overloaded traffic Main down to TR Hughes. No incidents reported. It's possible that's signal related or we have an incident that we've not heard about yet. This report sponsored by Blindster.com, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michael's. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
If you're on Medicare,
Listen to this message.
Open enrollment for all Medicare participants is now open until December 7th.
Hi, this is Mike Butts with MB Health Insurance Agency. And regardless if you are new or renewing your health insurance, the process can be confusing and very time-consuming. MB Health is local here in St. Louis, and we will handle your enrollment quickly, properly, and effectively.
Call Mike Butts and his expert team at 314-544-5400.
Or visit mbhealth.com.
As the old saying goes, winter is coming. Tim Jones here for Hanson's Tree Service. This is why you need to call Hanson's right now. It's prime time for winter pruning of your trees before winter storms bring them down. Get on Hanson's schedule for winter dormant oil application on your trees to prevent insects from taking shelter there throughout the winter months, and have Hanson set you up for a preventative plant health care program to take care of those most important assets. Give them a call today. They're online 24/7, hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Fox News commentary.
Washed-up child actress Alyssa Milano tweeted about what she thought was a selfless act of bravery, only to be owned by the internet at large. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Starting to realize your small business is a little overwhelmed by the holiday rush? It's still not too late to get all of your shipping and mailing under control with Stamps.com. Sign up right now, and you'll be printing your own postage in just minutes with discounted USPS and UPS shipping rates. Just go to Stamps.com, click the mic at the top of the page, and use code BUSINESS for a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, code BUSINESS.
Milano, like other self-righteous yet blissfully ignorant celebrities, is taking a stand against free speech, Elon Musk, and Twitter while tweeting about it on Twitter. Over the weekend, Milano tweeted about her harrowing act of trading in her Tesla for a Volkswagen electric vehicle, all to protest Elon Musk and white supremacy. But it wasn't long before users reminded Milano of the inconvenient origin story of Volkswagen, an automobile company started in Nazi Germany as a state-sponsored enterprise during Hitler's reign. But damn that Elon Musk and his Teslas and his free speech platform. Folks, these celebrities are all the same. They whine and cry about oppression, inequality, and hatred without understanding or even caring what those things truly are and who's truly committing them. They don't truly believe Twitter under Elon Musk is dangerous and threatening. They just hate any speech that's free and not their own. I'm Tommy Lahren.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Cyber Monday. Finally a reason to legitimately appear focused at work.
Okay, fair enough. All right, there we go. Yeah, Cyber Monday. I'm not buying anything on Cyber Monday today. All right, 7:22. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Susie Moore in for Game 5 for today. Ken Williams here. Interesting announcement over the weekend. Gavin Newsom says, I am not running for president if Joe Biden is running for president. I fully support Joe Biden. I'm not in. So do not be reporting that I'm going to challenge Joe Biden in the 2024 primaries. And I believe that he won't challenge Joe Biden in the 2024 primaries. But I think what you're starting to see is some pressure on the left to circle the wagons around Joe Biden. Yeah. Now, whether or not he's going to run, I don't know. When he says, "Oh, we haven't talked about it," well, yeah, that's crap. Of course they've talked about it. But I think there's a lot of pressure on Joe Biden to not say he's not running.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he's not.
Right.
A lot of pressure to not voluntarily put himself in lame duck position, because if there's a president who's not running again, they're in their second term, or they just decide they're not going to run, or whatever the case is, then what happens is the free-for-all starts with all the potential candidates, and then people will even undermine the president. So what I think you're going to see is pressure on J.B. Pritzker, pressure on Gretchen Whitmer, pressure on Cory Booker, pressure on anybody to not try to undercut the president and then to try to out-leftist each other over the next year to really try to shore up that base. Then if Joe Biden decides not to run, and not face whether it's Donald Trump or somebody else in 2024, if he decides not to run, then everybody gets to say, I was the good party person. I wasn't going to challenge him, but since he's not running, then I'm jumping in.
Yeah, implicit in Newsom's comment is that if Joe Biden doesn't run, then it's Katie bar the door.
I just think Joe Biden, okay, I don't normally say it like this, but Joe Biden's not running.
No.
He's just not. I mean, the guy is losing it every day now. I mean, he's getting worse by the day at this point. I would be surprised, and I'm being serious here. I would be surprised if he finished his first term.
Yeah. I was predicting he'd be gone by the end of the summer, so I was a little ahead of things there.
I think he finishes his term, but whether or not he runs again,
I don't think he
know.
does.
I don't think he does, honestly, Mike.
Yeah, we'll
He's not
see.
even 2 years in.
Oh, I know.
No.
I know. But they've also gotten a lot of what they wanted. And they had much better midterm election results than they thought they were going to have. So Democrats are kind of fired up right now.
Oh, I will say this, that Joe Biden has not made one decision since he's been in that office. Joe Biden has no idea what's going on. He's told what to say. He's told where to go.
You sit here, you say hello.
Yeah, exactly. And he has a bunch of people, including Obama, Susan Rice, and others, behind the scenes saying, okay, this is the policy right here. We got to get this across. Joe, say this. I am positive about that. Do I know it? No, I don't know it for sure, but I think so.
Here's the other thing. He's useful to the Democrats through the end of this congressional term. Once the Republicans do take control of the House in January, less so, because everybody's going to be in a stalemate posture. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of legislation being passed, but anything they're going to get shoved through, it's going to have to happen in the next month, like you've pointed out, Mike. So I think his utility starts waning tremendously come January 3rd.
Yeah.
I also think that's why you're going to see, I think, everybody trying to go out leftist and out radical each other on the Democratic side. You know, it's common. You know, it's a common tactic. Well, you know, you move to the right or you move to the left in the primary season, then you try to move back in the middle. I don't think the left wants to move back to the middle at all anymore.
No,
I think they demand that we move to the middle. We move the middle to the left, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I heard you say that earlier.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, though? Do you think that they'd be going over their skis with the rest of the country by doing that?
Maybe, but it's not a matter, I think, of necessarily winning people over. It's all, you mentioned a numbers game earlier, Susie, in another conversation. I think it's just a matter of the Democrats have a much better get out the vote practice and a much better get out the vote system than Republicans do. They know who and when and where to target voters to get them out to the polls. I think that I don't think they're feeling a lot of pressure to meet in the middle anywhere. I think that right now, especially with this youngest generation of voters right now breaking hard to the left, and being very hard left, I think that they are going to see that's the opportunity to win at the moment. And older Democrats, even if they don't like how crazy leftist they've got, well, you know, they're a party person. Grandma always voted for Democrat. I've always voted Democrat. You know, so they're just going to keep voting, even if they don't like what they're voting for. I mean, even at the local level, how many people likely hate Sam Page who voted for him?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you just described a lot of people that I know. They are traditional old school Democrats. They're very moderate. They don't agree with the progressive left, and yet they're going to vote Democrat.
And I didn't know how, at the time, how influential this conversation I was having with this lady at a bar recently. We were at my brother's birthday party, and she said, yeah, no, we're Democrat. Our whole family's Democrat. And I asked her, I said, well, are you voting for Biden then? She goes, hell no. Not because of all the things that are happening right now, the inflation, and I'm not paying for that kind of gas anymore. I don't want to. So, I mean, there are those people out there, but.
Yeah, but that's going to be up to the Republicans to give them somebody that they're willing to vote for, too.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of this as well. But that's what I think are going to be the interesting dynamics, because they're going to be in a position, I say they, I mean the potential, the aspiring presidential candidates.
Yes.
They're going to be in a position to both say, no, I'm not undercutting our leadership. I'm respecting the party structure. I'm respecting all of that, while at the same time preparing to run.
Right. It's lip service.
Yeah, because if and when Joe Biden decides he's not running again, then it becomes, well, I was the loyal one. You know what? I'm not taking apart our party. And I do think you're going to see the worst of the worst immediately launch presidential campaigns.
I think you're probably right about that.
I mean, who's the most electable Democrat in national politics right now? Nationwide, who's the most electable Democrat?
You first.
Well, I mean, it's counterintuitive, but it's probably Newsom.
See, I don't think so. I think
I don't think
it's
so
just the
either.
opposite. I think it's Manchin. I think he can win red states. Newsom cannot. I mean, the Democrats don't like him, but they're still going to vote for their nominee, and he appeals to moderate, and he even appeals to conservatives. But the Democrats would never allow him to get anywhere near a nomination. That's what Ken was talking about. Are they going to get over their skis? Well, Manchin makes them marketable. But I think Newsom, I wouldn't say he would lose to any Republican, but I think he is a much harder sell.
And the reason I disagree with Manchin is because I think he's burned bridges with the progressive left. They can't stand him. And he's burned bridges with the Republicans because he went in on the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yep.
I don't think he's that electable at all.
I think he's still the most marketable one to the general
I don't
public.
think so.
The people who show up start paying attention a week before because he's not radical.
But I kind of agree with both of you because I'm still thinking about who else it could be, and really they're as little as
it could be Pritzker, it could be Whitmer.
But that's funny to me.
I know
Pritzker is hilarious.
He's
me.
as bad as Newsom.
I think.
Yeah.
No,
but
I mean,
trust me, I'm not enamored of any of them becoming president.
Yeah, so
I just don't think their bench is that deep.
Oh no, and Illinoisans, I'm like, listen, Missouri's west of you. Come on over.
Yeah, here we are.
you got a better life over in the Missouri side. All right, just ahead here. Complicated emotional case. We mentioned. I've been keeping people updated on the scheduled execution of Kevin Johnson, which is scheduled tomorrow. A couple of different things are happening today. There's a hearing trying to postpone his execution. And then also an interesting, side-related lawsuit regarding his daughter and witnessing it. I'll bring you up to date on that in about 4.5 minutes on 101.9 94.1 Newstalk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on NewstalkSTL.com. This is Mike Ferguson in the Morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's Newstalk STL. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't believe the Democrats are stupid, but I think they don't care.
Live and local.
And embarrass himself at that press conference.
He's become kind of clownish, right?
Do you think he's going to run?
This is Newstalk STL.
From the Newstalk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. A federal judge on Friday denied a request by the 19-year-old daughter of a man on death row seeking to attend her father's execution on Tuesday. Only those 21 and older are able to attend Missouri executions under state law. Some South County residents will be receiving new property tax bills after an incorrect rate was used to calculate the original bills. The new bills will apply to the 15,300 residents in the Gravois Creek Sewer District. The county says MSD submitted a property tax rate of .06 per $100 of a property's assessed value. The initial bills that went out showed a rate calculated at 0.6% per $100. After a last-minute decision by Qatar to ban sales of alcohol at stadiums during the World Cup, Budweiser is asking for a substantial discount to sponsor the next World Cup. The beer company is looking for $47 million to be slashed from its agreed-upon sponsorship fee of $112 million for the 2026 World Cup, according to the Sun newspaper. And in sports, the Blues beat the Panthers 5-4 in overtime in Miami Saturday night. Next up, the Blues welcome the Stars to Enterprise tonight. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. In college football, during the Battle Line rivalry game Friday night, Mizzou held off Arkansas 29-27 to reach bowl eligibility. Both teams now await bowl destinations, with the Tigers possibly jumping the Razorbacks in pecking order. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Got a tow truck on the scene of a crash, 55 northbound at 270. They're partly blocking the ramp to go northbound on 270. You can get around them and then take the exit, but it's got the right lanes jammed back through Butler Hill. 79 southbound, I'm showing a big delay between Main and TR Hughes. I have not heard any incidents there, so it's possible that's signal related, but that traffic is really backed up. 270 eastbound at 367, we've already got the right lane closed for road work. Just be prepared to slow down a little bit. This report sponsored by Dell Technologies and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Dell's Cyber Monday sale starts now with up to $500 off on select XPS and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on essential accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
Hey, Tim Jones here with Tony Colombo for our friends Rodney and Jen Wallner at the Wallner Home Selling Team. If you're thinking about taking advantage of the market and selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now. Put St. Louis's #1 home selling team to work for you. Rodney and Jen have the experience and work ethic that sets them apart from all the rest. That's why they sell 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor and have so many qualified buyers right now. They'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. The results, Tony, speak for themselves.
That's right, Tim. In fact, I recently benefited from those results personally. My wife and I couldn't be happier with the job the Wallners did for us, selling our old home in less than 2 days for significantly more than we were asking for and finding us the perfect new home. Like so many others, we loved working with Rodney and Jen, the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. So if you're thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
It's St. Louis's favorite nutcracker with performances December 16th through 23rd. A glorious holiday tradition. Tickets on sale now for St. Louis Ballet's The Nutcracker. 314-534-1111 or at metrotix.com.
Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
Okay, so at 1:30 this afternoon at the Missouri Supreme Court, there's going to be a hearing. It's kind of a last minute flurry, I guess, of legal action trying to spare Kevin Johnson from the execution, which is scheduled tomorrow. Kevin Johnson is the guy who ambushed and murdered the Kirkwood police officer back in 2005. Now, a lot of people, I think, are getting really, they get angry when all these last minute, things are filed. But that's what they do.
It's the process.
I mean, this is the process.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it goes. I think their arguments are getting more and more outlandish out there, but they're running out of things. Their more solid legal arguments have been exhausted in this case. But one of the interesting side, I guess, related lawsuits, Susie, is his 19-year-old daughter wanted to be one of the witnesses at the execution.
Okay.
Missouri law says you have to be at least 21 in order to witness an execution.
Yeah.
And so she sued, and I think the ACLU represented her, and a federal court, I guess on appeal, continued to rule against her, saying, well, that's the law. They weren't saying it was a good or bad law. They just said, well, that's the law. We don't have jurisdiction to override that law. Of course, the ACLU and her, she's making statements arguing that she has a right to be there because it's her father and she wants to be with him up till the last moment of his life. Now, on an emotional level, I guess that could be an interesting argument. But the ACLU is saying, well, if 19 is too young to witness an execution, he was 19 when he committed the crime, therefore he shouldn't be murdered, which is a strange argument that they're making.
Yeah, that doesn't
really
track.
It just doesn't make any sense. But she's 19 and she wants to be there, saying up to the last moment of her life or his life. I don't know why anybody would want to watch a family member be executed, but should she have the right to do that? Not under the law, but should she have the right to do that if she wants?
So I agree. I have trouble understanding why you would want to watch somebody that you love, or anybody for that matter, be executed, be killed. But I do understand wanting to be there for that person and have, be that support for that person in their final moments. And it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, she's 19 years old. That means she was, 2 when he committed this murder?
She was 2 when he ambushed the police officer, William McEntee, in just a particularly brutal, premeditated fashion.
And let's remember that he took McEntee away from 3 of his children.
Right. Yeah, and I think we talked about this last week too. I oppose the death penalty in principle. I'm pro-life across the board, but the fact is that we do have it in Missouri, and capital punishment is on the table when you murder a police officer. And there's no question that this man was the perpetrator here. So, I think that it's a great discussion to have, an interesting discussion to have. I'd love to discuss it more. But the fact of the matter is this man has been sentenced to death for his crime. And, I guess I don't know what was the impetus behind passing a law placing an age limit restriction on witnessing executions. Like, what was the big push for that to begin with?
I didn't even know that law was in place until all this happened.
Who needed that law in place? That's puzzling to me. But
I mean, I guess I can see having kind of a line of demarcation.
But why? Like
somewhere.
When has that really ever been an issue?
I don't know.
Like
I don't
somebody had to want that passed. I don't get that.
I mean,
well, somebody probably brought kids in at some point,
or wanted
but so
to.
Okay, but why you need to pass a law for that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't agree with it.
Right. So I'm like, usually to get a law passed, somebody's pushing for it. I mean, think about Amendment 3 that there's like people lobbying for this. Somebody.
Yeah. This isn't the warden saying she's not allowed. This is state law.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. I mean, that's the state law. And I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. But if that's what the law is, I don't know what the constitutional right would be that would override that law.
Yeah, I mean, we have arbitrarily said 21 for some things in life. 18. My wife's older son just turned 18, so he is an adult in the eyes of the law.
Right.
Unless he wants to buy a beer.
Right.
Unless he wants to buy a cigarette. And so there are some things that we say 18 isn't enough, being an adult isn't enough. It's got to be this adult at this level.
Right.
And it's very arbitrary.
The question is, does that violate some sort of constitutional principle? And I don't see that it does. And I don't see that this does. But I guess I understand her wanting to be there for her dad. It's kind of sad and tragic all the way around.
Why couldn't they let her see her father to the last moments and then have her escorted out?
Yeah, I don't know the logistics of it. I know that there's pretty tight controls when they're getting ready to complete an execution. There's very tight controls over movement in and out of the area where it's taking place. So I don't know.
Yeah, without a doubt, those last 24 hours, I actually was with my grandfather right there with him, looking right at him when he passed. And it's very surreal. Of course, he had cancer and he was it had gotten into his brain and it was very tough. He had the air hunger, and so that's a situation where you obviously see the relief. I mean, he was gone, but at least now his body was in no more pain. This is an entirely different situation. I mean, it was, my grandmother was there with me. I was there. My brother was there. My parents were on the way. So that's just a whole different thing. And I do see the value in us being there when he passed.
I understand it. I was there with my dad.
Yeah.
Well, and think about the like during COVID, the sad situation where so many people were kept from their loved ones and not able to be with them at the end, and how
that's a good point.
Horrible we've felt about that. I mean, so I guess I see her desire to be there for her dad. I'm still really puzzled at why that law was passed, why there's an age restriction.
And that's like I said,
I didn't know
that law existed until this case happened, until this lawsuit was filed. I mean, I could see the Department of Corrections asking the legislature saying, hey, get us off the hook. Just pass a law so we're not the bad guys telling somebody they can't come be there for this.
But why? I mean, why do they even care? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If it's a family member, it's a family member.
Yeah.
About this whole thing, you've got these people who are protesting and having vigils and everything. They keep from mentioning about the people who lost this police officer.
Some probably do, but I know that there are people that are, truly opposed to the death penalty that do express, tremendous empathy for the victims of people that commit the crimes. That they just oppose the fact they oppose the state having the authority to put people to death,
right?
And they've hold to those principles. So, I mean, yes, you do need to think about the victims. You do need to think about the families that were affected by this. That's an argument, I guess, in favor of the death penalty, but.
Yeah, I think that I am not opposed to capital punishment in concept. I mean, I think that there are some crimes so heinous and some people so irredeemable that we are safer, and that is an appropriate punishment. I think it is justice. Here's the thing: is with the Innocence Project, we have literally had over 100 people, not even just shown to be reasonable doubt, but shown to be innocent. I don't trust our government to mete out the ultimate, final, irrevocable punishment right now at all. That's my worry about the death penalty at this point. Now, in this case, we at least know for certain that this is the person who did it, and we know that he did it in a premeditated, in a very brutal fashion.
Yeah,
and so we don't have that concern here. But my worry about the death penalty is that I don't trust government entities to get it right every time. And you can convict somebody with proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's got to be more than that for this case.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that version, Mike. But I'll tell you, the media, this is where they're best at spinning something.
Yeah,
they are not saying. There is so much noise coming from the left about Kevin Johnson and his family, and nothing about
McEntee.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it's so many different mixed feelings.
Yeah, it is.
And mixed, perspectives. It's complicated, and it should be complicated. And we're doing the best we can. By the way, Governor Parson has said he is not going to commute the sentence. If the courts do something, he's not going to oppose that, but he himself is not going to inject his office into this. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is Mike Ferguson in the Morning, made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Northbound on 270 at Doherty Ferry just had word of a crash. Looks like two vehicles, left lane closed. Traffic jam back to I-44. 55 north is heavy. Carondelet to Gasconade at about 5 minutes, but we are thinning out coming up from Butler Hill to 270 where we had an earlier crash. Their support sponsored by Blindster.com, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. Eat, watch football, fall asleep. Have a great weekend. Kenny and I'll see you Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Happy Thanksgiving.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Are you the type of person who loves their community and wants it to be the best it can be? Now it's easier than ever to do your part. Go to recyclemode.com to see just how easy it is to recycle the right way. Or if you already recycle and want to be as efficient as possible, recyclemode.com can tell you what should and should not be recycled in your area. Become part of the clean recycling movement today. It's the right thing to do. Sponsored by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources.
The news and talk.
The shootings occurred on a bus full of students.
Gun safety laws.
That matters to St. Louis.
This will be our campaign all together.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
What's happening in
News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Cyber Monday. Because it's frowned upon to be in a store with no bra, sweatpants, and a glass of wine.
It is?
Is it? Okay.
Oops.
There it is.
Didn't get the memo.
It's the glass of wine they draw the line at.
I was going to say, I may or may not have been under two out of three of those at one point in time.
What was in that Chick-fil-A cup?
Just lemonade.
By the way, and I'm just curious, one of the things my family's doing is for now, with Christmas and everything, my brother called me last week and we're just chatting and goes, hey, let's get everybody together and have a talk. Can we just not go crazy on the presents this year?
Yeah, we've definitely had that conversation.
And all of us, it was brought up and everybody went, yes, yes. We don't have any little kids, anymore at this point in the stage of our lives, other than our next door neighbor's little 11-month-old baby Margot, and she's going to make it out like a bandit,
of course,
this year. And that's one aspect where, inflation's playing a part. My mom is on a fixed income, and honestly, because of the economy and because of the stock market, she's taken a big hit over the last 12 months.
Sure.
And so we don't want anybody to be feeling any pressure. I'd rather have the time. But the economy is a factor in this without any sort of doubt. And I saw a report this morning that says there were people, a lot of, for instance, economist types and political types are saying, hey, economy's doing great. People spent more on Thanksgiving this year than before. So people are spending money. But what they forgot to mention, I say forgot, and I'm using air quotes, is that they got less stuff.
Right.
For more money.
Right.
Because everything's
that's
so much
inflation.
more expensive. Yes.
That's not.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting spin to put on it.
Yeah, when you average everything that you purchased for Thanksgiving was probably a 25 to 28% increase on all your food.
Sure.
Okay, well, then they spent more.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent more. But
they're trying to argue.
More.
Yeah, look at all this disposable income. People are doing great, man. They're spending more money right now. Well, they don't have a choice to do the same thing they want to do. I guess what was the other option? Not have Thanksgiving?
Yeah, have ramen.
They're saying there are definite signs that people are pulling back on things, and I'm going to this year. I mean,
I have to.
Yeah, I mean, our daughters are older, and one's in college, and so that dynamics changed anyway.
Sure,
but we're still going to pull back a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, and part of it is, a lot of it is that we just don't want to spend more money, but another part of it is yeah. I mean, let's just focus on other stuff, and this is a good year to focus on other stuff.
Agreed.
Without a big dip. Hey, by the way, I did not put this in the prep, guys. St. Louis Post-Dispatch just posted an article. And so, I mean, less than an hour ago. Merger talks, St. Louis officials open to reuniting city and county. And they have a quote from Sam Page, but they have now confirmed that Sam Page and Megan Green, who was just elected Board of Aldermen president, and Tashara Jones have already had at least informal talks about, okay, how do we restart the city-county merger talks? We told you this was going to happen with these people.
Where's that soundbite? Didn't I tell you?
Yeah, that's right.
I told you.
We told you this was going to happen.
Yep.
There was a huge uprising when this was pushed, and there are some people on our side that helped push it, and we beat this back. It was so unpopular, and we realized how damaging this would be to all of us who live in the county. You know who had really went out on this is St. Charles County, as if we haven't run enough businesses and people out to that. But you've got nothing formal. They don't have any written proposals, but you do have the elected officials of the city and the county acknowledging now that they are safely beyond the election days.
Right. Timing is really interesting,
yeah,
isn't it?
They're like, yep, we've had those conversations. We're trying to figure out how to present it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they bring it back and put it out in front of people. How do you measure this kind of arrogance? What part of no did they not understand?
I don't think it's a question of not understanding.
Yeah, they do.
It's just not accepting. Not accepting that.
St. Louis is unique in that they have something like 99 municipalities or something like
88,
that. 88.
Yeah. Yep.
They shrunk then because there used to be 99.
Well, there were a couple who dissolved.
Yeah.
Yep.
And with that, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback. People don't want to merge like that.
Yeah.
Overall,
no, I know. It'll be another tussle over it.
Oh, without and here's the thing: is if they said, okay, let's meet in the middle and include the city within the county, like everywhere else in Missouri. Kansas City is part of Jackson County.
Yeah.
Springfield is part of Greene County. Columbia is part of Boone County. Jefferson City is part of Cole County, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not what they're talking about here. And what they talked about last time was making it one great big city.
Yeah.
Bad idea, terrible idea. We know which way the resources are going to go, and we know which political structure is going to be governing everybody. Basically, you had a top-down approach that was saying, we'll decide which communities get to stay and which don't. We'll decide which subdivisions get to stay and which don't.
It's one thing if city of St. Louis was just thriving and just you couldn't.
You wouldn't be hearing these talks then, though.
No, you wouldn't hear. Well, that's true too.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you'd be taking on so much as a county, taking on so much from the city, and we can go into all that, but there's a lot there.
Yeah, and as a St. Charles County resident, I as you pointed out, Mike, I guess I'm less exercised about this now because I am no longer living in St. Louis County, but my family lives in St. Louis County. A lot of my family does, and I think it's I understand the motive, but I think it's bad news, and I think it's going to create lots of problems.
Oh, it's a terrible even idea at this point. And I understand there are people saying, well, this was voted on 150 years ago and it's time to, re-merge the two entities. Well, then talk about including the city and the county.
Yeah. Have it be another one of the county's municipalities.
Right. Yeah. And then, you know what? The city can pay taxes into the county if they want to tap into the county police department a little bit more. They can help, pay for it that way. But what we're really talking about is St. Louis City Hall, corruption absolutely defined, top to bottom, that will be running everything that is now St. Louis County.
Yep.
Because there's no corruption in St. Louis County.
Yeah, well.
No, not at all. Especially now.
But those
may already be de facto.
But those bums get voted out on occasion.
On occasion.
Yeah.
Not enough.
I'd like to know what the listeners think. 314-912-1019. Just let us know what you think about that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, state lawmakers could end up doing about that. We know that that there's going to be limited. If it's on the ballot, it's a voter, approved thing. There's going to be a limited amount that they could do to protect the county from the city. I think that this would be so unpopular in the county again that I don't think there's any way this passes at the ballot because you've got to have majorities in both the city and the county to make this happen. Of course, you had Chesterfield last time. Basically, they actually had talks with St. Charles County saying,
that's right. They were flirting.
Let's talk about this. And they actually were talking about seceding from St. Louis County.
Yes.
And it apparently, as if I'm remembering right, because I just saw the story like a few minutes ago. Apparently, it is legal for a community to do that.
Sure.
If the county of St. Charles and the city of Chesterfield or any other decided that they wanted to be annexed or to go in, they could do that by a vote.
When two municipalities love each other.
It's legal.
Oh, my goodness. All right, just ahead here. You know what? I had a real good conversation with Tim Jones a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
We've got that. We've got a new Attorney General designate in Missouri. Let's find out what he's all about. How well will conservatism fare in 2023? We're going to hear from Tim at 8:05 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling. the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
855-672-1566. 855-672-1566. That's 855-672-1566.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Senator Jim Talent.
We live in an age where saying common sense things is considered to be controversial or even revolutionary. Like, we need oil and gas. Yeah, I think we do. Or maybe we shouldn't shut down the schools. Maybe it's not a really great idea when troubled teenagers come in and just to rush to pump them full of drugs.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Anger and frustration over China's zero COVID policy restrictions spilled out into the streets all across the country over the weekend.
The videos from Urumqi in the Xinjiang region appear to show some of the most widespread protests yet against Beijing's stringent COVID rules. Here, demonstrators chant, "Lift the lockdown." In another video, people can be heard singing the national anthem as the Chinese flag is held high. Other footage shows protesters facing off against officials in hazmat suits and breaking through barriers.
That's the BBC's Stephen McDonnell reporting from Beijing. Most voters believe the result of this year's midterm election is likely to be more partisanship in Washington.
The latest Rasmussen Report's national telephone and online survey finds that 54% of likely U.S. voters believe politics in Washington will become more partisan over the next year. Only 26% expect D.C. politics to become more cooperative in the year ahead, while another 20% are not sure. After Democrats won congressional control in the 2018 midterms, 51% expected more partisanship in Washington. The survey of 1,000 likely U.S. voters was conducted on November 14th and 15th. The margin of error was plus or minus 3% with a 95% level of confidence. Bernie Bennett reporting.
Folks are keeping an eye on Mauna Loa in Hawaii. The active volcano started erupting late last night, spewing ash and lava. Authorities say it poses no immediate threat. The Biden administration has eased some oil sanctions on Venezuela. It's an effort to support newly restarted negotiations between President Maduro's government and its opposition. 2 people were rescued from a small plane just after midnight in Gaithersburg, Maryland, several hours after their aircraft flew into a utility tower and got stuck. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
The U.S.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
I have a minor crash, 55 northbound at 270. It's a little busy in the right lanes. The crash is off on the shoulder. There's also one 270 northbound at Doherty Ferry. It wasn't a lane long enough to bog things down back past 44, but it's now off on the right side. Otherwise, just picking up some volume here and there. No huge delay. 70 is just busy approaching TR Hughes. 64 west crowding Clayton Skinker to Big Bend. 64 east is just fine. And the Poplar Street Bridge downtown's all right. This support sponsored by Blindster.com, and I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
It's a miracle we're not in prison.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
Are you kidding me?
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin Bob.
Okay, believe it or not, there is activity happening this week in the Missouri legislature. And you're saying, but Mike, that doesn't make any sense. The next session doesn't start till January. I know. So pre-filing starts December 1st typically. And so that's, well, this week, believe it or not. I'm Mike Ferguson. Hey, good morning. How's it going? Appreciate you staying with us here on News Talk STL, joined by the one and the only former Speaker of the House, Tim Jones, who was not picked for Attorney General because we were ready to fight the governor over that, but he's right here. Tim, glad to keep you here on News Talk STL. We have a new Attorney General designate. I'm going to be really honest, Tim, other than I know that he works for the governor and the governor's council. I don't know much about Andrew Bailey. What do you know about him?
Oh, Mike, thanks for having me back on. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Yep. Yeah, it was very flattering and humbling being asked if I was throwing my name in the ring. And, I definitely thought about it, but, I kind of on a different career path right now. That would have been a big decision to make. And, I got two daughters about ready to head to college. And so maybe the next time this comes around. So Andrew Bailey, Michael. Yeah, Andrew Bailey. So I as well, believe it or not, do not know very much about him other than I've heard from some of the inside politicos who work in and around the Capitol that he is a, quote, good guy. I did watch the press conference. And I looked up his resume. He has got he's got quite the sterling credentials. He is a U.S. Army veteran. He is a veteran of the Warren County Prosecutor's Office. He worked as general counsel, I believe, for the Missouri Department of Corrections. And then last but not least, he was in the governor's office as general counsel. So he has built quite a resume for himself over the last 10 plus years. He's not young. He's not old. He's kind of in the sweet spot. I believe he's in his early 40s, which means that if he survives a primary bid, which I believe he likely will have in 2 years, because people are going to say, look, he was appointed, not elected. And I have a feeling some folks are going to take a crack at that office. But I think if he gets to the business of being a good attorney general in the mold of a Josh Hawley and an Eric Schmidt, learns how to raise money in the political game, he'll put up quite the fight if there is a primary contest in less than 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that made Eric Schmidt so popular as attorney general and made Josh Hawley popular. They were very aggressive going after other government. I mean, going after the federal government with Eric Schmidt, as much as, the Tony Messengers of the world and the Kansas City Stars of the world and the Riverfront Times of the world threw a fit when he went after school districts and county governments over, illegal restrictions. That's one of the things that made him so popular, I believe. Do we have any indication as to whether Andrew Bailey will continue down that sort of aggressive route, or will it be more of your typical attorney general, sue the telemarketers, respond to consumer complaints? And those things are very, very good. But man, Eric Schmidt was so aggressive going after other governmental entities.
Well, and you're right about the fact that the uber woke leftists who unfortunately run the corrupt corporate media here in the state of Missouri, just like they do on the national scene, they hated that. They hated a Josh Hawley and an Eric Schmidt that stood between the people of the state of Missouri and an ever increasing, ever enlarging, ever more intrusive, ever more freedom and liberty robbing federal government. They hate that. They just want them to go after all those big bad businesses, the businesses, the things that employ people, Mike, so that's what they want to, that's what they want to go after.
And some of the businesses, they do deserve it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Messenger would agree if, for instance, if our attorney general stood in the way between us and woke Disney, for instance, I mean, probably not. But, Mike, actions are going to speak louder than words. Andrew Bailey, you asked a very insightful question, because that question was asked of him a couple different ways at his press conference last, I guess it was Wednesday, right before the holiday. And he did say that he would absolutely be an attorney general in the same vein as his two predecessors, and that he would absolutely finish up any of the unfinished business that Attorney General Eric Schmidt had been working on. As it's interesting, Mike, there was an interesting kind of dual lens going on last week. You had the new Attorney General being announced, and well, he'll be sworn in the future. You had the new Attorney General being announced, and you had the current Attorney General Eric Schmidt literally taking the depositions of people like Tony Fauci and Jen Psaki about the big tech, big government collusion that was going on back during COVID tyranny. So, I'm sure that Mr. Bailey felt that he needed to exemplify some of those character traits and some of that work ethic that Attorney General Schmidt has said. But look, we're going to have to see what his actions are, right? I mean, it's very easy. On the heels of an attorney general who just won by nearly 15 points to say, yeah, I'm going to be just like that guy, because that would be the popular thing to say. We'll see what his actions bear out.
Yeah, we could absolutely love the guy a year from now, or we could be looking ahead to a primary a year from now. It all is going to depend on Andrew Bailey.
Absolutely, indeed. Like we said, actions will speak louder than words. And Mike, think of it this way. I mean, filing will open up for this office in March of 2024. That's barely a year and a half away. We're way less than 2 years from August of 24. So Mr. Bailey's going to have to work his office really hard, and he's going to have to work his politics really hard. He's going to have to make sure that he builds a formidable political machine like what Attorney General Schmidt and U.S. Senator Josh Hawley definitely had.
Yeah, this is where I reintroduce who we're talking to, so people who just joined us know. But you know that voice. That's Tim Jones. You can hear him every afternoon right here with Chris Arps on News Talk STL. All right, you just mentioned what's coming up. A lot of people don't realize it. This week, there can be pre-filing for the next legislative session. You can start filing bills the first week of December. Is this the time for any lawmakers or incoming lawmakers to really make a statement with bills being filed? Or are we just going to kind of get a look at the organizational structure of things?
No, Mike, I think this will be the week where we see not only some of the general outlines of what the agenda is going to be in the House and the Senate, but Mike, I'll tell you, in most cases, early bird gets the worm in most things in life, and that includes bill filing in the state of Missouri as well, because there will be well over 1,000 pieces of legislation filed between the House and the Senate. You cannot physically move that many bills through the legislative session. So in order to have a chance at getting your bill across the finish line, then you need to be one of the people that pre-files your bill either in December or I would say January at the latest. Once you get into February and beyond, it's really tough to move those bills through the entire legislative process. That's how it was designed. It's supposed to be really easy to kill a bunch of bad bills and a bunch of bad ideas. It's supposed to be really hard to get anything across the finish line. The system is messy, but it was designed that way. It was designed to vet those things through. So I think you're going to see some of the unfinished business from last session being filed, and I think you're going to see some folks wanting to. You got a lot of new people, especially in our state Senate, who have never served in office before, like Jill Carter, who defeated an incumbent last year, like Ben Brown, who people often hear in this region, and others who are going to want to make their mark, I think, early in their legislative careers.
How do you think conservatives are going to fare this time around, or conservatism is going to fare? You mentioned the state Senate. I'm not so much worried about really conservative and even smaller libertarian stuff making it through the state House. It just seems to be a lot more conservative there. But in the state Senate, are we going to have a better response to actual conservatives than in the past? Because I got to tell you, Tim, I've known Caleb Rowden a long time, but I've been really disappointed that he's really essentially gone unchallenged as leader, because he's been kind of hostile to really conservative stuff.
I would agree with you, Mike. And I don't know what the fear is here in the state of Missouri. It seems that as the supermajority in Missouri has become more Republican, they have not become more conservative. And largely from the leadership ranks on down, the leadership that's been selected by the caucuses over the last few years has been a very centrist legislative model. They seem to be more interested in taking care of the special interests, the bureaucrats, and the lobbyists than they have the people of the state of Missouri, which is why, Mike, you saw a pretty loud uprising of the people this year and saying, look, we've sent Republicans to Jefferson City to do Republican things, and y'all haven't. So the needle has ticked slightly to the right, I believe, in the overall makeup of the General Assembly. But, Mike, it takes a while for that to kind of feed through up into the upper ranks. And so I would agree with you. I still think we have a very centrist-leaning legislative team in both the House and the Senate. But I do think with Majority Leader Patterson and with Majority Leader O'Laughlin being elected as the number twos in each of those chambers, that I'm hoping that they will push the more conservative agenda that you and I would both like to see move a little bit forward. Because, Mike, it's really embarrassing that states like Florida, who have smaller Republican majorities, are doing more Republican things than we've done in Missouri the last two cycles.
Yeah, I've got about a minute left, Tim. Do you think this could be the year that we could actually get real, robust Arizona-style school choice, for instance?
I think it's possible. People have said, don't worry about the Blaine Amendment anymore, because that has prohibited a lot of that. We have a Blaine Amendment. It's a long story, but a lot of the Supreme Court decisions that have occurred from the U.S. Supreme Court many people believe have shot Blaine in the foot, and that it's dead man walking, and that we should go for full Arizona-style vouchers. I know, Mike, we've got some people that are interested in that, and I hope that those legislators file such bills and really put parents and kids in charge of education instead of the bureaucrats in the Department of Ed.
And the teachers' unions, don't forget that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, indeed.
All right, along with Chris Harpsey here, Tim Jones every afternoon right here on News Talk STL. Hey, Tim, appreciate you being back on the program. You're a busy guy, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mike. Always good to talk to you and your entire crew in the morning.
All right, 314-912-1019. Got any thoughts on anything Tim just said? Let's talk about it right here on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Still a lot of heavy traffic 270 northbound. We'll call it gravel up to Doherty Ferry. That's due to an earlier crash. It's been on the shoulder for a while. 55 northbound at 270. There's one in the safety V. In other words, the left shoulder area at that location. Just a little busy there. 270 eastbound at 367. They've already got the right lane closed for construction work. That's moving okay, though. Their support sponsored by Blindster.com. And I'm Joe Sonderman from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
Columbo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. We trust Agers with our home because their number one priority is doing right by the customer. Temperatures are changing outside, and as we transition from warmer temps to cooler ones, if you have any issues keeping your family comfortable, don't wait. Call the great team at Agers so they can address the issue before it gets worse. Because whether it's repairs or replacement, Agers is there with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting, soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Fox News commentary.
Washed-up child actress Alyssa Milano tweeted about what she thought was a selfless act of bravery, only to be owned by the internet at large. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Starting to realize your small business is a little overwhelmed by the holiday rush? It's still not too late to get all of your shipping and mailing under control with Stamps.com. Sign up right now, and you'll be printing your own postage in just minutes with discounted USPS and UPS shipping rates. Just go to Stamps.com, click the mic at the top of the page, and use code BUSINESS for a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, code BUSINESS.
Milano, like other self-righteous yet blissfully ignorant celebrities, is taking a stand against free speech, Elon Musk, and Twitter while tweeting about it on Twitter. Over the weekend, Milano tweeted about her harrowing act of trading in her Tesla for a Volkswagen electric vehicle, all to protest Elon Musk and white supremacy. But it wasn't long before users reminded Milano of the inconvenient origin story of Volkswagen, an automobile company started in Nazi Germany as a state-sponsored enterprise during Hitler's reign. But damn that Elon Musk and his Teslas and his free speech platform. Folks, these celebrities are all the same. They whine and cry about oppression, inequality, and hatred without understanding or even caring what those things truly are and who's truly committing them. They don't truly believe Twitter under Elon Musk is dangerous and threatening. They just hate any speech that's free and not their own. I'm Tommy Lahren.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
News Talk STL. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
The week ahead. Monday, Americans will be going online for holiday shopping deals as retailers take part in Cyber Monday. Many stores began offering Cyber Monday deals early this year in hopes of capturing a bigger market share of holiday sales. Wednesday, thousands will gather near Times Square and millions of television viewers will see the lighting of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. The 82-foot-tall Norway spruce is adorned with more than 50,000 multicolored LED lights and a Swarovski star. Wednesday also marks the official end of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. Thursday, President Biden will host French President Emmanuel Macron at the White House for a state visit. The two are expected to discuss a number of global issues, including the war in Ukraine. Friday, Northrop Grumman is set to reveal the Air Force B-21 Raider aircraft, the country's newest strategic bomber. The B-21 is expected to take the skies early next year, intended to replace the B-2 Spirit and the B-1 Lancer. And that's a look at your week ahead. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News.
We've mentioned a couple times that you've got an unusual lame duck session in Congress, particularly right now. And at 8:35, we're going to visit with Emma Waters from the Heritage Foundation. She was on with us a couple weeks ago regarding what the Democrats call the Respect for Marriage Act, which had a lot of Republican votes for it, including Roy Blunt.
Yep.
And the question at hand is how much religious freedom protection is there? Because Mike Lee out of Utah has proposed an amendment that would have pretty robust religious freedom protection. Now, this bill's not a good idea to start with, but at least that's there. So we're going to get an update from her at 8:35 here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore is in for Gabe Pfeiffer today. Ken Williams is here. My name is Mike Ferguson. And speaking of that lame duck Congress, obviously the latest shooting to be in the headlines came at that Walmart in Virginia following the one at the nightclub in Colorado. And that's got President Biden and it's got a lot of congressional Democrats and governors on the offense again to impose more gun control. Fox News' Gernal Scott has that story and update for us.
Tragedies in Virginia, Colorado, and other states have once again raised questions on who can get access to guns. Colorado Governor Jared Polis, a Democrat, says federal lawmakers must act.
We have universal background checks in Colorado. Some of our neighboring states don't even have background checks.
Republican Congressman James Comer, who may be the next House Oversight Committee chairman, says just passing more laws won't fix the issue.
We need to invest in more law enforcement, and again, we need to invest in mental health.
Both were on NBC's Meet the Press. Congressman Comer says he hopes gun crime can be addressed while protecting Second Amendment rights. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Susie, this is, I think, obviously frustrating, not just because of the infringements on freedom and on the Second Amendment, but the Supreme Court could not have been more clear as to how they interpret the Second Amendment. The current makeup of the Supreme Court could not have been more clear. The Second Amendment means what it says, and essentially the leftists said, we don't care. We're going to move forward exactly with what you've already ruled unconstitutional, and it'll take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to fight it out, again.
We've reached the point where if you don't agree with what the court rules or what, the precedent on it, then you just completely just disregard it. I mean, we've seen that Pennsylvania disregarded the Supreme Court when it came to some of the election law stuff. I think the fact that the court did overrule Roe v. Wade has, in particularly progressive leftist minds, basically delegitimized the court. So they're just not going to listen and they're not going to pay attention. And it goes back to our whole constitutional framework. There's a lack of a lack of understanding, first of all, and respect for our constitutional framework and how it's all supposed to work and what those checks and balances are supposed to be. It's just do what you feel.
I wish we had more understanding, collectively in the United States, more understanding of the checks and balances and how brilliant that was. I still, and I know I'm going to catch a lot of grief for this, I still think it was a mistake that we changed our Constitution to directly elect U.S. senators.
No, I agree with you.
Oh, thank goodness there's somebody else.
No, I 100% agree. It should be the states that elect the senator.
That was part of the checks and balances between the state governments and the federal government, because you better believe those state legislatures, they were very aggressive in saying, no, state territory, 10th Amendment, back off federal government. Right. Well, they don't really, that upset that balance.
Right, very much so. No, I 100% agree with you on that. I also don't agree with the income tax amendment. Mm-hmm. Now, the 19th I'm going to stand on. I have a friend who always makes a joke argument that we should repeal the 19th. So.
Okay.
Especially when they're talking about like suburban women voters and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I knew exactly what they were saying. Yeah. I'm just like, okay, how much do I go? No, I better not.
It's his way of teasing me.
Yes. But yeah, the checks and balances is so crucial, and we treat it like a historic relic.
Right. Well, because
That's
it
what we
was
do.
put together by, those old white men that were, patriarchal and slaveholders. So nothing they did or said is of value.
Right.
So I might be oversimplifying things, but we've got a government right now that is currently run by the Democrats. The Supreme Court makes a decision. Who enforces it?
No one.
That's the problem.
Well, that's just,
I mean,
that's a banana republic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, but, the Supreme Court has ruled the draconian gun control law in New York unconstitutional. So it was struck down. And what they do, they passed another one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be sued. It's going to be struck down as unconstitutional. Then what? They're going to do it again. And they're going to do it again. And eventually, when we talk about order in our society, we're not just talking about keeping control of bad guys who hurt people. Order also means keeping government in its lane as well. And I think a lot of people forget that.
They do, and it ends up being an emotional argument, too, because think back to when the Supreme Court upheld the ACA, Obamacare. There were plenty of people on the right that were furious with the court over that and still can't stand John Roberts because of it. And, there are calls to basically disregard that and find ways to end run that. So there's, depending on what your viewpoint is and what the issue is, people respect or disrespect the rulings. But it's not about, the Supreme Court isn't the be-all, end-all of everything. It's just in our system of checks and balances, that's the one thing that's supposed to kind of keep us anchored to the framework, the Constitution, which is the overall check and balance on itself. We've gotten really far away from that. And even if I agree with most of the rulings that this iteration of the Supreme Court is making, the bottom line is you have to go back to the basics, and we're not doing that.
So am I a hypocrite when I say the Supreme Court, like you said, because I like this iteration of the current Supreme Court, and I say, to your point, Ken, that you've got states that are probably some places, cities that are just simply ignoring, and they're not going to recognize, they're going to delegitimize the role of the Supreme Court. Well, you know what? When Sam Page says, I order this, I'm not recognizing it. I'm not going to obey him. I'm not going to comply with him. Is there a difference?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think. So here's the thing. Let's say there's an edict handed down by county executive Sam Page, and you choose to disregard it because you believe that it is unconstitutional, inappropriate. You have the right to choose to do that. There may be consequences that come with that. If those consequences involve you being fined or, penalized criminally in some way, you can challenge that. You can challenge so there's this whole system that's there, but we're so kind of we're so used to having like immediate satisfaction over everything, immediate gratification, that we don't recognize that there's a process that you go through. And sometimes you're going to take a knock for stepping out and saying, I disagree with this ruling or this law or whatever.
I know a way that the left is going to have new respect for the Supreme Court is when they pack it.
Well, sure, because then it'll be full of people that rule the way they want to.
Exactly.
Right. Which actually is constitutional. Yes. It is not it's not unconstitutional.
Right, to add members to the Supreme Court. It's not.
It's
a political move, but it's not unconstitutional.
It's a terrible policy. Right. But yeah, exactly. All right, one quick final PSA here. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, today is the day to toss out your leftover turkey.
Toss the turkey.
They say it's not good. Bacteria and stuff.
That sounded worse.
It did.
So if you're tired of eating turkey leftovers, but you're looking at that half a thing full of turkey and you're like, I don't want to waste it. Well,
time to go.
The government says get rid of it because it's not as safe anymore after today or as of today. So that's your excuse.
Good to know.
Oh, I'm going to run home and do it now.
I actually am tossing it just because I don't want any more turkey, and I love turkey. I'm just done with it. That's my excuse. Government said so, and we know that we know how much I obey government.
Right.
All right, just ahead, Democrats passed what they call the Respect for Marriage Act. At least first round. It's not over yet. Is there a way to stop this, and why is it important? We're going to talk to Emma Waters from the Heritage Foundation in 4 minutes and 7 seconds on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. You're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning. Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
St. Louis's place to talk. The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
From the NewstalkSTL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasevich. Former Board of Aldermen President Louis Reed believes he should not have to repay the bribe money the government used to catch him, but he is willing to pay a fine equal to that amount. The assistant U.S. attorney countered that offer by citing a 1991 case in which the courts determined that a fine of twice the amount of the bribe was appropriate. Students of Collegiate School for Medicine and Bioscience will return to in-person learning today after 3 weeks of virtual classes following a school shooting in October that killed 2 people. Central Visual and Performing Arts High School, where the shooting took place, shares a campus with Collegiate. A local developer will be seeking approval from the St. Louis Preservation Board on December 5th to demolish a former Wells Fargo office at Market Street and Jefferson Avenue to make way for 2 hotels. The property was purchased from Wells Fargo in 2020 for nearly $6 million. The St. Charles County Parks Department was called to handle a fuel spill in the creek at Quail Ridge Park Friday morning, but could not find the source of the spill. The spill is not expected to impact local drinking water, but will need to be removed. And in sports, in college football, during the Battle Line rivalry game Friday night, Mizzou held off Arkansas 29-27 to reach bowl eligibility. Both teams now await bowl destinations, with the Tigers possibly jumping the Razorbacks in pecking order. And the Blues welcome the Stars to Enterprise tonight. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to NewstalkSTL.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It's been a pretty light morning. Northbound 270 is just crowded approaching Manchester. It's thinning out pretty quickly. 55 north, just mainly construction zone speed limit running up through Virginia and Gasconade. Route D is going to be shut down between Route Double D and Highway 94 today in the Weldon Spring area. That's for culvert work until 4 o'clock. So if you normally use Route D between Double D and 94, you'll have to use a detour. I'm Joe Sonderman, and that is the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
A cool start to your Monday, but we're looking pretty good as we get some sunshine rolling in here later on this morning and into the day. A high temperature today of 54 degrees, so a little bit above normal. Lows tonight in the 40s. For Tuesday, warmer still, a high in the upper 60s on Tuesday, but increasing cloudiness and breezy, in fact, downright windy at times, with a chance of showers and thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Gerhardt.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel Financial Advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The Rob Carter Show.
The reason the press exists, supposedly, is to hold power accountable. Was Hillary held accountable? Was Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, were they held accountable? If you think Donald Trump broke all of these laws, raped all of these women, stole all of this money, was he held accountable? Do you believe that the FBI and the CIA are working on behalf of the establishment?
The Rob Carter Show.
Or working on behalf of the American citizen?
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you by Elite Printing and Packaging. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
And I'm not going to turn my dial off to you guys. I really like this channel.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewstalkSTL.com.
Okay, it looks like the Democrats, what they call the Respect for Marriage Act, again, that's what they call it. It looks like some form of that is going to get to the president's desk, who is very, very eager to sign it. The question is going to be what version of this is going to get to the president's desk, at least in all likelihood. I'm Mike Ferguson. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your morning. Joined now by Emma Waters from the Heritage Foundation. And I know, Emma, that there's still hope that something could get derailed through the political process, but this is one of those bills that the Democrats seem really, really intent on pushing through in this last few weeks of the 2022 congressional legislative session. Before we get into the specifics, let's remind people of the big picture as to what the heartburn is that so many people on our side of things are having with what they call the Respect for Marriage Act.
All right, so the two big things we're looking at with what I like to call the Disrespect for Marriage Act is that, first of all, it repeals the Defensive Marriage Act, which states in our public law that marriage is between one woman, and this has stayed in place even with the Obergefell ruling. And then the second major issue is that it doesn't provide any affirmative protections for people of faith or religious organizations that still hold to a traditional view of marriage, and instead it opens the door wide open for anti-discrimination lawsuits and private rights of action against individuals who not only believe but act in accordance with those beliefs.
So is this a matter of saying, well, okay, you're not allowed to discriminate, and you may not like this this aspect of sexuality or this view of marriage, but you cannot like it, but you're not allowed to discriminate. What's the problem?
So here's where it gets tricky. And it's important to note that for individuals who are in same-sex unions or marriages, none of their rights actually change under the Disrespect for Marriage Act. Things actually stay the same. But what's important to note here is that for people of faith, the text of the bill itself with the current version of amendments, and there's a Mike Lee amendment that's being voted on today that would change this if it's passed. But basically what says is that nothing in this bill would allow the IRS or another government agency to file lawsuits, to revoke contracts, grants, or even take away an organization's tax exemption status based on their disagreement. So if a religious organization says, no, we still believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, the bill very deceptively says, okay, great, you can still believe whatever you want. But what the bill doesn't say, and this is what the Mike Lee Amendment is all about, is that it doesn't actually say you can act or think or act differently than that. So it doesn't say, and so basically what it doesn't do is it doesn't provide affirmative protection. So the Mike Lee Amendment explicitly says that no government agency or other private organization can file discrimination lawsuits against people of faith or threaten their tax exempt status or take away contracts because they're being explicitly and affirmatively protected in believing different things. But like I said, the way the bill currently reads, it opens the door wide open for any government agency or individual to file these lawsuits, even if the bill itself doesn't require them to do so.
Okay, so you mentioned tax exempt status a couple times, Emma. So we're talking about, we've heard this, fear for many years now. So then a conservative Baptist church or Catholic church or any of those churches that say, doctrinally speaking, we believe marriage is one man and one woman. And are you saying that this could open up the door for those churches to lose tax exempt status and have to start reporting all of their tithing and all of their offerings and start paying taxes on all of that? Because we've heard that, and I think we've heard it so many times over the years, we're like, yeah, it'll never actually happen. What I'm hearing you say is that under this proposal, it could happen.
No, that's precisely right. And this is why the Heritage Foundation has pledged $1.3 million for a campaign to raise awareness and fight against the religious liberty concerns of this bill. Because without the Mike Lee Amendment, like I said, would be voted on today, What this does is it literally opens the door and doesn't protect religious organizations, churches, or individuals who disagree with the statement that marriage can be between any two individuals. And so if they still wanted to hold that marriage is between a man and a woman, the bill does not protect them from any lawsuits from the federal government, state government, or any private individuals. And like we know with the Biden administration, and with the current state of politics in America, that those sorts of attacks are absolutely going to come. Because like you said, they've been pushing for this for years, and this is actually the closest they've gotten, and quite frankly are incredibly close with the help of our Republican senators who voted to move it ahead, to actually make that nightmare a reality.
Well, okay, so let's talk about some of those. I mean, Mitt Romney and Roy Blunt from Missouri here. Some of the other writers, David French, who is increasingly becoming irrelevant to the conversation, unfortunately, because I think David's a really nice guy. I like David. But you've got people saying, no, there's already religious freedom protection in there. You guys are worried about nothing. What is the level of religious freedom protection that's in the bill as it stands right now?
So as it stands, it provides a negative defense for religious liberty. So like I said, the bill says that you can believe however you want, but the bill doesn't explicitly say that you can act in accordance with those deviating beliefs. And deviating belief here is just the belief that marriage is between one man and one woman, which many conservatives, most Christians hold even today. And so what it does is it says that nothing in this bill would allow them to be discriminated against. But it doesn't make an affirmative statement saying that no government agency like the IRS with its 87,000 new employees, or any private individual who holds same-sex marriage as like the ideal or one of the affirmed ways, cannot then go and file an anti-discrimination lawsuit. So that's where it gets tricky. So it says that nothing in this bill requires them to file a lawsuit, but at the same time, nothing in the bill as it currently stands prohibits any of these government agencies on down from filing those lawsuits from anyone who acts differently in accordance with those beliefs.
So is the First Amendment, and freedom of religion colliding with LGBT rights? And if so, how does the First Amendment not win?
Yeah, so it's absolutely colliding here in a massive display. And so there is hope that follow-up legislation and lawsuits challenging the legitimacy of the Disrespect for Marriage Act, if it's passed as it is, would yield some results, or would yield good results and protections for people of faith because of these constitutional rights that we have embedded. But what we're up against here is not just one fight about the state of marriage, but a 50 to 60-year fight where the left has been pushing anti-discrimination laws through federal regulations over constitutional protections, really since the Civil Rights Amendment of the 1960s. And so if it does pass, what we're going to see is a massive fight between the power of the federal government, its agencies, and all of their regulations up against the enduring truth and protections of the Constitution. And that is not a fight to be taken lightly, nor is it one that is going to have a clear-cut answer for the benefit of Americans and particularly people of faith.
All right, Emma, I know that you all did a survey, and basically I don't have time to get into that, but the more people learned about the details, the less popular this became as people learned more about the details. We can find that at heritage.org, but you mentioned there's another amendment being voted on today. What is it right now that you want people doing or taking action to do?
Yeah, so the big thing right now is to reach individual as they're able to get in touch with their representatives and to fight for and state their beliefs on this matter and push their legislators to do the right thing. So if you go to heritage.org and type in the Respect for Marriage Act in your Google search bar, you can find a whole list of resources that break this down. The campaign that Heritage is currently running to fight the religious liberty concerns, more information on how the current bill completely undermines it, as well as information on Mike Lee's amendment and how that actually would provide the necessary protections for people of faith. So go to Heritage, get armed with all of the facts that you need, and then get in touch with your legislators to talk with them about the consequences and ramifications of this bill passing.
And to put it very, well, no pun intended, bluntly, I mean, the one person in the St. Louis area is going to be Roy Blunt, who needs to be reached out to. I mean, Josh Hawley, I think, is on the right side of this. Both senators from Illinois are on the wrong side of this. So Roy Blunt voted in favor of it as is in a procedural vote. And it sounds like we need him to at the very least, get on board with the Lee Amendment, if not change and oppose now.
That's exactly right. If the Lee Amendment fails today to be added to the current amendment, which Democrats have all but said it will, what we need to see is good Senate Republicans then rescinding their support for this bill, saying if you're going to actually provide affirmative protections for people of faith, then we're not going to vote for this bill. And that's what we need to see, especially from those 12 Republicans in the Senate who initially voted to move it forward.
All right, heritage.org, and you can find it there. Emma Waters, appreciate you being on the show again.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
It's been a pretty light morning. Northbound 270 is just crowded approaching Manchester. It's thinning out pretty quickly. 55 north, just mainly construction zone speed limit running up through Virginia and Gasconade. Route D is going to be shut down between Route Double D and Highway 94 today in the Weldon Spring area. That's for culvert work until 4 o'clock. So if you normally use Route D between Double D and 94, you'll have to use a detour. I'm Joe Sonderman, and that is the very latest from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
Want to save 50% on new blinds? Blindster offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters shipped to you at prices less than big box retailers. And right now, save 50% off any order during Blindster's Cyber Monday sale. Hurry, sale ends December 1st. Blindster.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Hope you had a great Thanksgiving and long holiday weekend. We're back at it on Monday with State Representative and Senator-elect Nick Schroer to get you up to speed on all the latest news and headlines.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
If you believe Brandon and the supply chain issues are still in crisis, or even if you don't, hurry into Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters, for the best selection of firearms, suppressors, holsters, ammunition, pepper spray, and knives. Browse through our constantly changing inventory, order something special, or have us repair or modify that firearm that you've been putting off. Try our firearms training simulator. See the demo video on our website. Come into Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, at southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
Hey, Bill O'Reilly here, and you can hear my no-spin commentary right here at 6:45 this evening. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Cyber Monday. The art of acquiring things you don't need with money you don't have. Good luck climbing out of debt, suckers.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cyber Monday, which for a lot of people means credit card decline Tuesday.
Yeah. Probably.
I haven't bought anything yet for Christmas shopping at all.
We did a little bit. My wife did for the girls. Like, I need to watch out what I say here, but yeah. I mean, we actually jumped on it earlier this year than we normally do, just because we could spread it out. And I think I would guess that that's probably what a lot of people are wanting to do.
Yeah.
Just if the people who are going to be even buying gifts.
What'd you get me?
No, can't tell you.
Oh, fair enough. All right, I get that. All right, it's 8:52. Mike Ferguson here. Ken Williams is here. Don't forget, if you want to hear any of these conversations we had or just the show itself, go to the NewstalkSTL podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, we're there. Find us. For instance, that conversation we had with Aaron Dorff, American Firearms Association. A lot of great information on that. This conversation we just had with Emma Waters, that's going to be posted probably within the next 60 minutes, would be my guess, is when that's going to be up on Newstalk STL podcast. That's something that you probably want to be able to forward to your friends and family and anybody else who may call in. And this could go anywhere in the country because everybody's got a couple of U.S. senators that need to hear about it. So this is real easy to forward it to, on any of the platforms.
Yeah, the left is really good about naming things, naming bills the way they do. I mean, it's so deceiving. I mean, it's just deceiving on its face.
Yeah, the Respect for Marriage Act redefining it. And you cannot get away from, for instance, the Commerce Clause and the Equal Protection Clause, some degree of federal guidelines or framework that says, hey, your marriage license in this state is going to be recognized in this other state. Okay, well, that's fine. But the deeper you go into this, and I mentioned, like, for instance, David French, and you know what? I've worked with David French before, and I think he is increasingly making himself less relevant to conservative thought. And it's really unfortunate because he's essentially become an apologist for the left. Mm-hmm. But still wants to maintain his place as a conservative Christian thinker and writer. And it's really unfortunate because I think he's a very, very smart man. But I don't know why he's gotten on board with the Mitt Romneys of the world in some of these issues right here. It's just really too bad. It's gotten to the point where I'm losing interest in what he has to say because he's not making any sense anymore. I like reading people I disagree with, and I like reading people that I agree with. And some people just simply want to be apologists for the other side out of reaction to something. I just don't get it. You even heard Emma when I mentioned David, she kind of snickered a little bit. And I'm like, well, that's kind of justified. David's brought that on himself.
Yeah.
I think to some degree. And that's really unfortunate. Last time I ran into David, I don't know, I think it was in Utah or something like that. But I mean, it's been a while since I've run into David. And there's some things that he's right on, but he's just increasingly wrong on stuff. And you're seeing that sort of chipped into some of the academic aspect of those on the right. And there aren't enough people in that sphere. And so when they all start falling to leftist apologetics, it's really frustrating. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. I just to go back to the idea that everybody who's voting need to look into all of these things that, I think that more people today, when they go to vote, they're at least reading more. I think they're reading instead of just blindly voting on something based on its name on its face.
Right. Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and those in Congress get that. But like, for instance, I mean, that's why the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, that was like Karine Jean-Pierre. It's like they voted against the Inflation Reduction Act. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, they could pass the, Stop Kicking Puppies Act and then write whatever it is there and imagine the ad, can you believe they voted against the Stop Kicking Puppies Act?
Yeah.
What kind of person votes against the Stop Kicking Puppies Act?
And I keep going back to this one in Missouri, the Clean Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
Act. I mean, that was nothing even close to what it was saying,
Well, and we had to go back and fix that, but it cost a lot of money to do it. And had that Clean Missouri stood, this is an overwhelmingly red state, but the legislature would not look like it does right now.
Nope.
Because of what was buried deep within that, having to do with redistricting. That was a complete
Clean
and
Missouri. Yeah, they wanted a clean house in the Democrat side.
Yeah, that's exactly what they wanted to do on that. Yeah, so, I mean, the naming is the one thing, and then the partial reporting is the other thing. It's been really disappointing to see so many Republicans just abandon the conservative base. I mean, Roy Blunt, when he first got elected to the U.S. Senate.
He amazes me, by the way.
How so?
Leaving office the way he is, it's almost like he's completely changed compared to the way he was 5 years ago.
Well, yeah, even longer. I mean, because when he was the majority whip, he was conservative, but not hardcore conservative. The Tea Party wasn't wild about him, but he was just part of the establishment. And then when he got elected to the Senate, he was really conservative for a few years.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all kind of going, whoa, we like this Roy Blunt. And now that he's heading out the door, he's voted, as Aaron pointed out earlier, he's voting for a gun control measure.
He's left of Mitt Romney.
Yes. On some things, yeah. And then with this particular issue here as well, he's kind of sold out some of the principles by abandoning the religious freedom aspect of this. And I mentioned David French. I don't know if David French would remember my name or not. When I was at the Show Me Institute, we had him in to speak on things. It was a very good event, and this was years ago. And just right now, we're just kind of going, man, what is happening? Sir, I'm sorry, this is for radio host only. Who's that guy without a beard who just walked in here?
No kidding.
Handsome, right?
Clean shaven. Look at that. Get on Rumble and check out Vic Porcelli. Trying to decide which I like better, the beard or the no beard. There's your Rumble discussion for you.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m.